Oh.
Okay. The air conditioning. We might hear it, but it's all right.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck?
It's a makeshift studio.
I
What do
know,
you want?
bro. Look where we're at.
This is in the hood, Wisconsin hood.
Hey, we got the room for free, though.
Hey, man, listen. Sometimes you got to be nice and smile.
I can't complain, man. All right. Well, welcome, everybody, to another podcast, Bo-Do podcast. My name is Bojo Durman. My American friends call me Bo. The podcast is Bo-Do Podcast. Thank you, everybody that's already following me. Any new listeners that Sasha brought over today.
Hello, everybody.
Please give me a follow. The name is BODU Podcast, and I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, and X, old Twitter. So any new listeners, please give me a follow.
If you don't, I'll follow you to make sure you follow Bojo. If you don't,
that's right. Sasha's going to come after you guys. So today we're in Milwaukee. We're here for the RNC, Republic National Convention. And it's actually my first episode outside of the studio.
This is your first makeshift in the hood studio outside of your actual studio in the middle of the single largest event in Milwaukee's history. How do you feel about that?
You know, I was a little nervous setting everything up. As you saw, like, we literally have no room to move around here. I got cables going through my feet. You got cables going through your feet.
If I move my left foot, the studio will collapse. So
pretty much.
I try not to breathe. But we did it all for your listeners and, of course, your followers. And, of course, the new subscribers. Like, share, subscribe for the incredible effort that Bojo put into literally moving his entire studio from Chicago to Milwaukee for me. And I appreciate that, Bojo.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So today's guest is Aleksandar Jovicic. Some friends call you Sasha.
Yep. The confusion stemmed from the fact that there's another Aleksandar Jovicic that used to be a politician in California, then in Illinois. And so over the years, they're like, are you in politics? And obviously he's 20 years older. So eventually I just got tired of being asked if I'm related to him and just added Sasha for easy recognition. But of course, you're free to call me as you like.
Perfect. Well, I know some people on Instagram, you're known as the god of SEO.
Yes, the 25 years of having a nickname, the god of SEO, kind of sticks with you, obviously, and for obvious reasons. But, you know, at the end of the day, they literally refer to me as the god of SEO oftentimes. They don't even know my name, which is fine.
Oh, yeah.
People waved, like yesterday in the middle of Milwaukee, the god of SEO. You go, don't know my name.
Some people also know you as the Lord of Startups too,
This
right?
is true. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, the last couple of years has been interesting. Is somebody hashtagged that once, somebody with a big amount of followers on Twitter or X now, and became a joke, running joke, like, oh, look at that, it's the god of SEO turned the Lord of Startups, and I was like, ew. Well, I mean, it sounds. I mean, I do it, and I put it on the profile as a joke because it sounds terrible. I mean, the level of ego ugliness. Like, I did it on purpose, obviously, but it's like somebody refers to you as that, you're like, that sucks. This is terrible. I'm gonna take that because it's terrible now.
I can see how you can be like somebody that doesn't know you, like Lord of Startups.
Yeah,
what does this guy think he is?
Imagine somebody reading that and, like, you know, I change my bio constantly to piss off the community. So, you know, I'm always putting stuff like digital Serb Chetnik. Then I put like real Illuminati one day. And so I'm always messing with people in the bio. And just imagine somebody reading that and going, oh, that guy sucks. He thinks he's the Lord of Startups. And I'm over here dying laughing, as you now know. As Bojo, you and I got to know each other today.
We did. We had some bread.
Can I curse? Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, absolutely,
okay, fuckery's been afoot, right, since yesterday. And not just in the event, but obviously on the current goings on. So
yeah. Sorry, I'm just checking the cameras just to make sure everything's working well. You might see me do that every once in a while. So, but again, we got your name, Aleksandar Jovicic. Sasha is a Serbian American Conservative Patriot and businessman. He has 26 years of experience in digital marketing and business development. I know you worked with companies like XM Radio, so I'm looking forward to picking your brain a little bit on business. I talked to you a little bit earlier today about my future plans, so I'll be picking your brain a little bit. I hope you don't mind. It's free.
Charge. The Lord of Startups does not charge. This one's on me. Pay it forward. Free. I'm going to use all the cliches in business, you know, the chest beating entrepreneurs. This one's on me. Wink,
Perfect.
wink. I'm
I'll-
paying it forward. Wink, wink.
I'll make the reels out of it later.
Yeah. That'll be the cover reels. The Lord of Startups. Dun, 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 dun. It's like, oh god, this guy sucks. So those are jokes, kids. For those of you following at home.
Well, one thing I've learned about you so far, knowing you for the last 24 hours, is that you're a jokester. And,
that's the only way I make it through life every single day. The jokes are what makes me sarcasm. That's my superpower.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I like what you said. It's like when you said you and your wife go out and party at night. Like you're a young mind and
Thanks to my
at your
wife,
age.
obviously. If I don't give her credit, then she'll, I'll hear from her, obviously. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and that's how I
Yeah.
feel too. Like I feel like as I'm getting older, my body's getting older, but my mind is like still at 18, 19. Not financially, and but what I'm talking about is like I still like to go and play sports and go play golf and do the stuff that I used to do when I was like 18, work out and stuff.
No one in Belgrade's nightclub scene or Miami's nightclub scene is ever surprised to see my wife and I out. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's how it's got to be.
yeah, well, it's great because obviously I enjoy both places. Like they're both home, and so you know what I mean. Like we like to party, we like to fuck around and have a good time with everybody, and it's great because I get to meet everybody in every age group, and so that's where the sarcasm
Yeah.
comes from. It's defeatist at best, but you have to do it, right? Because it's 20 hours a day of, as you've now experienced, of that.
Yeah.
Usually, obviously, this is a little cranked up because of where we are and the level of the event, but in general, that's the lifestyle that we lead as a family, and then obviously I, as the father of the home, that's the lifestyle we lead. And people go, it's never ending, like it just keeps going. And you saw the phones, right, and going on. It's explaining that to somebody is often hard because they think it's imaginary, right? Because they see me on Instagram or any of the social media, and they see me respond and post stuff, but that's, what do you see? 2 minutes of somebody's life a day,
Right.
and then there's the other 19 hours and 58 minutes of the day that's phones, calls, flights, and so it's always interesting to.
And I see you online. You're very involved with your family. You always
Of course,
going out
of
and
course.
with your kids.
I
So
love my kiddos. They keep me going, especially the little one. She's got dad's genes.
Yeah.
I'm screwed.
Well, it might be a good or bad thing, right?
Mom's beauty though, so that's good. That's a saver. But damn, she's got
Not the
that.
dad's
She's
genes.
got the foot and ass gene from dad. Yeah, she's
That's good.
gonna be the.
Might be a good
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. My son's the gentle heart kind of soul. He'll listen to you. He's empathic. My daughter, on the other hand, gives
More
zero
rebel.
fucks. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do her own thing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
It's not a bad thing because as you grow older, you want to live your life without any restrictions like coming from somebody else.
That's
right?
called the ultimate freedom, right?
That's
what
it.
I've learned, and it's interesting because it's so hard to teach that to somebody, right? So even in business, it's not just personal, but in general, just have the free thinking motion of I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Not for the sake of saying I don't give a fuck. That's cliche, but truly living a life that's focused on what you're trying to accomplish and how you're trying to be for yourself. And so we joked about this yesterday. Like people are like, "Ooh, I saw those photos from the event or this thing or that thing." I'm like, "That's literally 2 minutes of my day."
Right.
2 minutes is what you saw on Twitter, on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, right? And then you see the camera shut off and you see the chaos behind the cameras, right? And you saw that yesterday. We've had Secret Service yesterday at the event, and there's 15 suits, and there's the Congressman X and Senator Y, and that's a random day in a life of, obviously because of the event, but that's chaos reigns. That's like chaos redefined. People are like, "How's your day?" I'm like, fucking chaotic.
Yeah.
Like it's chaos, and people go, "Oh yeah,
They don't
sure,
believe it.
Sasha, yeah,
Right.
go ahead and complain to somebody else." Like, "Oh, tough." It's like, you try that shit for a day.
Yeah. It's when people see like a successful businessman, everybody wants to be there, but nobody understands like the work that you put in there. Neither do I, because I'm not a successful businessman, right? But I have an idea of the work that you have to put in every day. So people see online like, "Oh, this guy is doing really well," but they don't understand the work that you're putting in every day, like you just said.
And they also don't understand what doing well really means, right? Because somebody's keys to success or somebody's very definition of success is completely different. I've got multi-billionaire friends who can't get enough of Rolls Royces and the super fine travels and the best experiences. And I've got supremely wealthier friends and those guys who sit on a ranch somewhere in the middle of Florida, right, with their dogs, and they go out hunting on their quad, they drive a '79 pickup, but they're wealthier than half the nation, right? And so again, it's what do you define as success, right? Oh, that guy's doing good. What does that actually mean, right? You don't know what somebody's success is. And so I've learned through the business experience, right, and the family experience that never judge a book by its cover. Whatever you see, perception is not reality often, right? You've got to get to know what the circumstances of that human are before you assume that someone's doing well, right?
Yeah.
It's different when somebody's being proactive and what they're doing is flaunting it, right? And we actually had this conversation at breakfast this morning, right? When they're doing it for the sake of ego. It's another thing when it's the literal life they're showing you, like, this is chaos. It sucks often. It's great, but it sucks often. And here's what we're going through, right? And that realism, when it comes through, like, that's been like the entire modus operandi of the entire week has been like, the realism leads, the energy leads, and you win by being real, right? Everything else is just smoke and mirrors and perception. So it's a very interesting time in our life, and I'm glad that we met in this sort of like just insane business / politics week, right? In the middle of Milwaukee with just hundreds of thousands of people milling, and you saw the event yesterday, and it's an experience of a lifetime, but in a business sense, right? It's like the culmination of all the effects and people you've met over the years, and now you had a chance to participate. Just a little bit of madness, but it's...
Yeah, I was walking towards the event yesterday. I was mentioning to a friend that was walking with me, I was like, this is kind of cool, everybody's out lively. It feels like a big party. And
yeah, sure. It feels like it, like if you're in LA and watching it through a camera, you're like, wow, those guys and gals are having a great time. And the rest of us back here are going... Oh, God, I've gone through my 67th checkpoint. Social Security is now twisting me twice. I keep getting 950 phone calls because everybody's lost trying to figure out where to go. Like, and so it's like I said, perception is not reality.
That's right.
Perception is perception. Reality is reality. And so
I guess for like somebody that's not really involved, just walking to the event, I was like, this is fun,
Well, I'm the Lord of Startups, so I'm not impressed easily.
I'm definitely using that.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a Reels cover.
Yeah. Too many reels, that's right.
Seriously.
So Sasha is you're the CEO of Executive Digital Holding Group. I really don't know what that means, but on your LinkedIn, I did a little research. I saw that you guys kind of operate across 11 different countries.
So let me simplify, because obviously LinkedIn is designed to be formal for a purpose, and it's tough because you are trying to give it a exact like image of who you are, but in a short version. You got to pitch that. So I'll explain to the audiences who don't follow me or have not heard of me. Like, I have a pillar post of all of my companies. And so I have numerous companies that I've invested in or I own with partners and stuff. And I realized many, many years ago that one of the most expensive tools is marketing or sales and marketing or advertising, sales and marketing, that ASM model, right? And so, I launched Executive Digital 15 years ago as sort of like a feeder, right? I have clients, they pay me, and my team does a great job, right? Zero outsource policy, all in-house, every team member. But it was a way to generate revenue without me having to go out and find other teams to service my other companies. And so if you think of a hub and spoke system, right? Think of a car wheel, right? And so you have the hub, right? And you get the spokes, right? And so Executive Digital Holding Group is sort of like the pillar post. Yes, it's not the same company as Executive Digital, the marketing agency, but there's a reason why it's the same name, right? So people get the name synonymous. And so, we have this corporate holding group, and all of our interests are then vested into different companies. And that allows us to have centralized operations. And as each Lord of Startups startup grows, we start from scratch, raise the funds or invest our own, get the companies to grow. Executive Digital Marketing Firm is the mover and the shaker of all the companies. But the holding group is sort of the centralized operations, the brain, if you will. That sounds so again, I'm going to say the word cliche 10,000 times today. Get used to it. But at the end of the day, the purpose is to have a system that's easily recognizable by someone coming into the group or a new company being added. This is your hub. These are your spokes. These are your outside, the tire, right? The rubber. This is how it gels together. And we've had amplitudes, the size of our company and going up to X amount of employees, going down to Y, selling off one company, launching 3 more, investing 5% versus wholly owned. So there's all these different structures, and over the years, it's become more complex. And so the easiest way was to just have a holding group that's sort of the interest holder in all these different companies. And more importantly, become sort of a centralized operational system, right? Where everything, regardless of the industry, company, level, type, level of investment, size of employee count, size of revenue, it's always been operated the same way. And when I say the same way, I don't mean the same mental way. I mean the same operational way where there's that vertical structure, right? An SVP, a chief business development officer, a CFO, the things that really make a corporation what it is, right? So it doesn't matter how far it scales up, or if you sell off components, scales down, you have the same system that's duplicable, right? And so that's the purpose of what you see, not just on LinkedIn, but in general when I speak at podcasts, at events, and, you know, try to explain how complex the system is. It's not that complex, but it's, you know, it's large in terms of the moving pieces, right? So, but yeah, so at the end of the day, you know, now this is all how it ties in, right? You've got the startups that are part of the ecosystem, and we launch them and sell them and grow them or start new ones, close the unsuccessful ones. But again, it's all part of one mechanism, right? And that makes everything easier. And I really mean everything easier because it's copy paste. You know, there's an approach and it's duplicable and again, adapted to that specific startup or that need or the product or the service. But simply, you know, when you're starting, it's done the same way with the same people. And that makes it really scalable. Really, that's what it's about.
It's so you got one team that's working on, you know, multiple companies. Those companies always can come back to the hub.
Always.
With, you know, any...
Yeah. And I think I've said this on a few other podcasts and interviews, and especially for the U.S. media, but even the Serbian podcasts, I've said this numerous times. It's my team. And I always give thanks to my team. You see me tag on social media, shout out to the best digital team, social team, sales team, like all, you know, to me, it's one team, but I identify them to understand that even though I'm the CEO and the president of the holding company, it is my vision, and it's not an ego thing, but this is how I envision things should be. At the end of the day, if I did not have capable team members who I give full credit because they're the ones who are out there doing an amazing job, or if they're not, they're getting fired or leaving or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, the core team is always the team that keeps this little tiny earth of ours shaking, right? Yeah. I'm out here doing what you saw yesterday and today, which is being the face of my company and representing them, trying to make them proud of me, right? My team, who I'm like, guys, grind. This client didn't pay. This is late. That's early. That, you know, the constant stress of the day. I try to be the face of my team, albeit a loud, obnoxious, brazen, sometimes ugly face of the team. But, you know, I give thanks to the system that I created and the team members that simply have found themselves in the middle of the system that makes it all tick, right? And I don't mean just like, I don't mean even like the analyst level, right? I mean the senior, the partners, the company, the investors, all the different moving pieces. It is systematic. And so if it fails, it's because the system sucked. I made a bad system. But obviously, a decade and a half later, I've, you know, apparently done something right. And again, and I think we discussed this last time when we just connected on the phone, you know, I've had 7 unsuccessful startups in the last decade and a half. They simply sucked. The idea sucked. The product was wrong. The timing was wrong. But you don't know that till you try. It seems like a good idea. We still did it the same exact way. The outcome was shut it down, sell it, or some alternate, let's not invest anymore, right? Let's walk away. But again, the system made that possible. So you can experiment. I give the team the flexibility to experiment what's going to work, what's not going to work. And again, that's why the team mentality culture, which again, it's never perfect because it's humans, right? But every year you try to improve and be like, let me not stress over X. Why don't you guys handle Y? And so in order not to grow in numerical value, to grow in freedom, in free time, in vacations. When I see a director of my company or manager or a staff member posting a video from Italy, from company, from Venice, from Greece, you know, and I'm like, I just like it, you know, on Instagram, I heart it. I'm like, damn, thank you. You know, you're taking some time away from this madness and chaos. And so, you know, that's grown a whole different culture, and it evolves. It's not perfect. It's not like I set this incredible system up. It's, you know, oh God, it's got its flaws. Again, I wouldn't have shut down 7 unsuccessful startups. And actually, technically, in some people's worlds, they were actually successful. To me, they were utter fucking failures. I mean, they were disgusting. The people I was working with I didn't like, or the revenue wasn't proper, or they cost too much money, or, you know, something caused them to really not be successful. Even though from the outside looking in, people go, "Oh, Sash, why'd you shut down that company? That was awesome. This company, that company." And I'm not going to say by names because it makes no, you know, some we've sold off assets, and so you know. But the answer was, to me, it was not successful. It didn't fit within the mold of what made other things successful, and whatever didn't, we just had to pivot. Doesn't matter how painful it was. Doesn't matter losing staff. You never want to fire people or let staff go and say, listen, this company has to be shut down. This has to be. But at the end of the day, that's business. That's the reality. And the good news is everybody participates in the ecosystem. It's one system. And so everybody knows that, hey, if the company X is not doing well, what are we learning from that? Let's not do that for company Y, because everyone's responsible for this sort of that systematic approach to business. So it's a very interesting model that I really like.
Yeah.
And I didn't learn this from everybody. Like, it was an experiment. Truly, it was like an experiment of, can this be done this way? Like, is this how people do it? I didn't have a mentor. You know, we talked about this. Never had a mentor my entire life. Never. Yeah. Ever. I've had board members and I've had people who assist and partners and investors with advice, but I've never, 45 years old today, and I don't have a mentor. I've never had a formal mentor. Right? Yeah. So it's like you pick up what you can. Everything else is trial and error.
Yeah, I mean, definitely want to talk to you about your startups, just a little bit, just to kind of get an idea of what worked, what hasn't worked. But before we really dig into your profession, your businesses, and the Serbs For Trump, I really want to kind of get to know you. Right? I want to know where you were born. Were you born here, back in Serbia? When did you come here, and so on?
Great question. I appreciate that question. And most people don't even ask that question. Like, I know you were born in Serbia. Okay, great. Like, yes.
The way I look at it is like it's a podcast, but really it's just like I'm befriending you. We're befriending each other, right? So it's not really like an interview. Just friends hanging out.
And I'll take that. That actually feels good.
So I want to get to know you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Likewise. And that's why we're sitting here in this beautiful makeshift studio of ours. I was born and raised in Belgrade, and I moved to the States in 1991, so I was 12 years old. That aged myself, as you guys already know. So I moved to Phoenix. That's where I grew up. Shout out to all my Phoenicians and Zonies. I had the incredible, upbringing, even though economically it was terrible. And I think, it's, as an immigrant, the typical story, and I'm going to skip over many pieces just not to bore the viewers at home. But I've talked about my upbringing in Phoenix, and it really sucked. Not because my family didn't fight for us, but because the economy of being an immigrant sucks. Right? We've to some degree, most of the listeners and viewers of this podcast know what it means to be an immigrant in America in the 90s.
That's right.
But also, Phoenix was a tight-knit community of Serbian Americans and Serbs in general coming in during the war, and so it was this sort of unique moment in the history of Arizona. Phoenix was tiny at the time. When I say tiny, it was significantly smaller than today, and so it had this small town feel and familiarity, despite me, growing up in the ghetto. And I think you even met my best friend, obviously,
I did,
30 years, and so we grew up together in this nasty neighborhood in North Phoenix, Central Phoenix, and so it was tough. But again, it's the immigrant life, and so it's not like it's a war story, right? Another one of the check boxes, right? So I grew up in Phoenix, and
how was it growing up, in that neighborhood and going to school?
It was terrible, And I'm glad that James was there, And oftentimes I've mentioned James's name, I think 5,000 times in the media in the last 30 years. But we grew up together, literally in the same block, and so. I got out of the ghetto earlier than him. Ha ha, James, if you're watching this, ha ha. I got out the ghetto. But growing up in the hood, real hood. I mean, the gangsters and the shootings, and that was an everyday thing. And I don't mean like movie everyday thing. Matter of fact, I don't know if you caught this, and I think you liked my post a couple of days ago. Someone came up with the idea to feature our hood on Instagram. So our old hood where we grew up, the ghetto is so bad. The ghetto today, 30 years in. And someone created an Instagram page with goings on in it today. And every day they're posting shootings, killings, deaths, stabbings, bombings, fires. Still to this day, 30 years later, right? This is 30 years ago, not exactly, but 29, 20. It's like, if you think about the fact that we grew up in this crappy neighborhood, right? Immigrants were working hard, but you had this gang mentality in the hood. And then all of a sudden this pops up on Instagram, and it's like 300,000 followers of the hood, because it was the hood. They call it the square because it's on a map, Google Maps or Apple Maps, you can see it's a square. It literally it's a perfect square neighborhood. But it's terrible. It's terrible to this day. Imagine what it was like in the 90s, right? During the gang wars and the illegal immigration wave from Mexico. And it was fucking terrible, right? And so the only goal was, two goals was, number one, please don't die today. Let's not die, right? Because people are shooting at random at 7 a.m., 2 p.m. Doesn't matter. It's the hood. And two, please, let's get the fuck out of the hood.
Yeah.
So every single day doesn't matter how old or young you are, is how do I make some money to get away from this madness, right? And so, and you obviously met James, and he was telling, he's like, man, you know, people think we're joking, and then now here's this Instagram page showing where we grew up in the very neighborhood, and it's even worse now. So it's like, you know, and it's tough explaining to somebody, because I know people go through plight, and, you know, some people really have tough times. We talked about this morning, where it's tough to have tough times.
Yeah.
But we didn't have tough times. We had tough times as immigrants, brand new to America, in the hood. And God bless my parents, because they were like, we'll work 96 jobs. We got to get the fuck out of here. Like, that was the primary mantra. So I beat James to the punch and got out of the hood first.
What's your craziest story out of the hood?
Oh, God. I can't. There's not a single. I can't identify. Besides the regular shootings and stuff, I think our most famous story, and I think I may have spoken to this on Serbian TV a couple months ago, was, you know, coming back from a basketball game, right? Just high school basketball game, and, you know, you hear zing, 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 zing as you got the music loud, and your friends in a car. You know, somebody's behind you driving in the middle of the day, shooting at you, guns out, because they think you're XYZ, right? And so, to some people, that's a movie thing. That's a Broadway show. To us, we lived it, right? At 16.
Yeah.
You're just trying to enjoy a basketball game, like a high school basketball game, and you're getting shot at.
That's wild.
For being in that neighborhood, right? And so, you know, and there's a lot worse stories, as you know, and we discussed a little bit of my background, but which we'll leave for some other future and some other lifetime karmically. But at the end of the day, it's laughable, because, you know, some people watch that in the movies, but there's other people that I know, especially some of my followers that grew up with me, you know, my friends in Phoenix, like Henry, like Nick, like some of the people that follow me on Instagram and are to this day my friends. And when I talk about this stuff, here's their response, because they lived it with me, right? And we were part of the lowrider culture, right? And dealing with the main trucking scene, which was huge in Arizona. Lowriders, like that's how the business thing started anyways. But at the end of the day, that culture brought along with it, the car culture brought a lot of that mess. And so we had a very interesting time trying to be good kids in a bad world. And I mean terrible world. Not just like haha pretend ghetto. I mean, I think it's called Square Up Phoenix or Square Phoenix or The Square Phoenix, but it references Square Phoenix on Instagram. It's terrible.
If anybody doesn't believe you, go check out the page.
Just check out it's terrible. It's every day.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, you know, when I talk about on podcasts and interviews, I say it was every single day. We'd be getting ready to go to school, go hop in a bus, 7 a.m., and there's gangsters, you know, finishing their night partying, drunk, high, whatever, or mad, shooting. They're not shooting at you necessarily. They're just shooting at each other.
Yeah.
You're in the crosshair. And so, you know, it's not movie quality. It's terrible, right? It's the worst of humanity, right? Broke, immigrant, hate your life, miserable in Phoenix because it's hot, right? Most of the year. Living in trailer in aluminum cans. We call them trailers because it sounds fancy. Most of them with no AC, right? And so the strive to do better in the immigrant world, in my world, and my parents, God bless them, and my sister were like, whatever it takes, we got to move. And that was the only mantra. And so, you know, our goal for the first 5 years in the U.S. was get out from the square, right? Get out from the hood mentality.
That's probably where you got your business mentality, right?
I got my business mentality by selling light bulbs out of my trunk. You know, learning what street, you know.
How old were you then?
15 and 7 months is when I started doing the trunk sales.
Was that like a little underground thing, or was it a legal sales?
No, it was a legal hustle. I mean, it was a cash legal hustle. I mean, back then, they didn't
I'm fucking around.
Report. Yeah. But like, you know, I started with light bulbs, and one of the best presents in the history of Christmas presents is James, who you met, my business partner, my life partner of the last 30 years, right? We've lived through everything together. You know, he brought a set of light bulbs, one of the first orders we ever ordered from China. And he brought it to me. He says, listen, I've kept these for 30 years now, or 28 years now. He's like, look at this. And it had the original APC packaging, and they were purple light bulbs, like the shittiest quality. But when you're a kid growing up in the hood, you have some choices. Right? You can do some illegal shit, you know, drug transfer, be a mule, you know, you could be a street post viewer. You know, you can get into that lifestyle, or you can just figure out, what can I buy and resell, or what can I do as a service with my hands if I don't have a brain, right? And so I decided to go with the alternative. I decided to go after sports and be in school and do great, and then focus on surviving the hood and making some money. And so
Yeah.
my business experience starts with light bulbs in the hood out the trunk of my Cadillac, my first Cadillac. So, which I often post on Insta stories, and people go, "Oh my God, you had hair back then." I had hair. Yes,
I had hair once upon a time too. Not a
no
maybe
trauma
like 8
or
years
anything,
ago.
guys.
No.
Triggered a little bit. But.
When did you actually, since we're talking about hair, when did you start losing your hair?
I
feel like this is the topic that
I
people
feel like
don't
this
talk
is a
about.
good men's top. Men, pay attention.
Yes, sir.
I actually started losing my hair somewhere. I was very young. I think I was 16, going on to 17.
Wow, that early.
That early, yeah. I mean, the stress of just growing up in that kind of shit neighborhood and constant noise. You know, it's constant. And people are like, "Oh, it's genetic." I get that stuff, but you know, if you don't have a good diet, and you're in the hood drinking a 5-gallon Tampico orange juice that you know is 99.9% not orange juice, it's tough to be, you know, you're eating unhealthy because you can't afford better, right? We're not talking about you know, your Whole Foods purchases and all, everything is great, and your vegan or your organic food, right? You're talking about instinct of survival in one of the toughest hoods in America as an immigrant. And you're the most hated nationality at that time, right? Being a Serb in America, right? Milosevic conversations, right?
Not just that, but like also your skin color was it different?
That's correct.
People there?
Yeah, it was predominantly Hispanic neighborhood, right? And not a lot of African Americans in our specific neighborhood, but it was mostly Latinos, right? And I don't mean like Mexican Latinos. It was like, you know, norteño, sureño, like Honduran, Ecuadorian gangs, and you know, like Central America, sort of that, you know, that even worse than someone who, like, people that grew up in the jungle would live in a neighborhood, right? So it was a very, very much a violent neighborhood, right?
Sorry, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to throw you off topic.
No,
we started talking about
that's how we do in every podcast. No.
I
But
agree.
it's
I
good
feel like
it all
it's
flows together, right? Because the business experience of today is, and you even saw some of my reactions. I'm quick to tell people to fuck off when they're being rude, and like, you know what I mean? Like, there's some of that hood mentality that goes into everyday dealings. And I obviously have learned to not have that as the predominant thing, but when you're a child, you know, you're 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, a young adult, 17, 18 and up, that becomes the core defensive mechanism, offensive mechanism, response, sarcasm, wit, intelligence, the street math. Like, some guy would come up and say, "Oh, I need 12 light bulbs of 3157 bottle, and I need 6 for my Impala for this." And you're not busting out a cell phone. Sorry, folks, we had pagers back then. You know, your ghetto mentality is, okay, but I bought them for $3. I got to sell them for $5. I got to do 5 times 12, 60. I got to make 12. You're doing those things on the run while the light bulbs are in the back of your trunk that your customer's trying to buy at a car meet. And that is the reality of my upbringing. And it's not everybody's upbringing, but that's what got me to the point where I literally was like, this is life. I can make something out of my life by taking control and freedom, not having, and I did have a full-time job. Like, I was working at Office Max, selling computers part-time when I could, you know, weekends, just to get out the hood. The whole family was working 2, 3, 4 jobs. You know, I wouldn't see my dad for like 6 days. We lived in the same house. Just get out the hood, right? Mantra, get out, because it's not something that we enjoyed.
It's not what you're used to.
But that translates into every aspect of life to this day. Is it good? Is it right? I don't know. Right? God will judge me, right? Judgment Day. But that's essentially what got this entire entrepreneur and even the political involvement, which we'll talk about in a little bit, sort of the mindset, like, who's controlling your life? Like, if you're not an active participant in your own life, especially as a Serbian American immigrant, especially in a new country, and you just lay down and cry, is that what we're doing today? Or are you going to stand up and say, listen, you know, today is the day I change from X to Y, right? That perception of yourself.
Right.
And I don't even know how far off topic we are and what the original question was.
We started talking about hair. I think this is a great opportunity because you said it is an important topic for men.
Yeah.
Since we're both bald.
We started with baldness, ended up with something completely different.
So you were 16, 17 when
I was
you started.
16, 17, but it's stress induced. So yes, at the end of the day. And so my friend Kat and Nikki, Greek Orthodox sisters of mine, not real sisters, but I mean, you know, the spiritual sisters, they were like, one day they're like, come here. And literally shaved my head. And I think that was the first time my mother ever wanted to, like, murder me. I came home, you know, goatee, big long goatee, gangster pants, and shaved head. And she was like, oh, God, you know, Aleksandar, you know, typical.
So did you want to shave your head, or just like, okay, so how it happened for me, I started like around 24, 25, started thinning like in the front. So for the next like 3 years, I was I wasn't like doing a comb over, but I had, like it was only up here that was kind of receding.
This sounds like trauma healing right now. Look at Boja. If you guys can see Boja's face right now, and this better make the edit. Like your face.
Cut it out.
Trauma healing. No, do not cut this out. This is excellent.
Am I red or what?
Your
I'm a little
veins
embarrassed.
are all popped out. Every single vein in your head is out, bro.
You should see me when I train Muay Thai.
This better not be edited out. I'm gonna be mad if this doesn't make the
I don't
final
give a fuck. When I train Muay Thai, bro, like after a session,
that's right now,
bro, my veins are just popping out.
That's awesome.
And it's not Muay Thai, any workout.
And by the way, you guys at home listening, like this is the level of fuckery we've been dealing with the last 24 hours. So get used to this podcast being very atypical from what you expected, right, from Sasha. But I started, when I started balding, I'm not bald. Like right now, if I was to grow, I can grow out a full head of hair, right? But it looks funky because I've been shaving it. I shave it every other day. So like this is shaven. Like I'm not bald. I can still let out, like it's ugly. It looks ugly.
Sure.
It's not normal hair growth after 30 years.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, you bald dick, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, actually, no, I'm not bald. Like, yes, I have. Obviously, you can see, I shave it super close, but, so it's a thing, right? And I've realized that many people don't like bald, tall. As you now know, I'm a giant. People underestimate my size when they see me on Instagram until they see me in person and go, holy shit, you're a fucking giant. I'm like, well, do I look small in pictures on Instagram? I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know what you guys expected, right? But then you see me with pictures with like super tall men, and they're doing this, and you're like, holy shit, Sasha's an actual giant. So yes.
Yeah, and a bald man is kind of intimidating.
You know what?
A tall bald man.
We're handsome though, right?
That's
my
right.
mom would always say, bust your lip. You're so beautiful.
Bro, you know what? Like, I was like, man, because I always had my hair styled. I used to do the faux hawk. I used to have my ear pierced, diamond studs.
Oh, God, you were that guy. Oh, God, I would have beat you up in high school.
Nah, it was like everybody had their ears pierced, bro. My whole basketball team had their ears.
My moms would have killed me, bro.
My dad never knew. Fuck,
well,
I just told her.
Now they know the big reveal.
I would hide it.
Therapy session 101 with Sasha.
Bro, I would hide it. Like, I would go out, put my earring in, come back home, pull it out before I walk in the house.
I'm just trying to even think like what that would look like in my house. I would have been put through a wall. My dad would have been like disowned. Goodbye.
But
I disown you from this ghetto apartment.
Yeah, that's what would happen to me.
No, Dad, not the trailer. No. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what would happen
to
me.
My dad, God bless him, my mom and dad, they watch everything gets put out. You saw all the media, from the event yesterday here in Milwaukee. And they're messaging me like, oh my God, Sinan, good job. And I'm like, damn.
What are their names?
Jovan Dragana.
Hello, Jovan and Dragana. Shout out. Pozdrav, Jovan and Dragana.
Pozdrav. They watch everything in mine. They're my number one fans and supporters, and God bless them for it. And we're an integral family part. And obviously, my wife Mila, she puts up with all my. You guys all know her as Kiwi. She became famous as Kiwi on social media, so she's Kiwi. I'm the god of SEO. Like some shit just some stories write themselves. Like these are jokes of life. Kiwi and the god of SEO. They're terrible. People don't know my wife's name. It's Mila. So like, I
was wondering. I was like, I was going to ask you, was she Serbian American?
She is Serbian, of course.
Did you guys meet over there? Or?
No, we met in Belgrade as well. Yeah, we met in Belgrade as well at a mutual friend's birthday party. And
how old were you when you got married?
I was I had just turned 40.
Okay. Did you have any kids before then?
I did, yes. I have a son from my previous marriage, and I was a single dad for a very long time. I enjoyed fatherhood and motherhood being all in one. And my parents were the better half. They were the soft half. And so my son, he grew up with me as sort of the only pillar post in the house, and then my parents being the the other half, the soft, loving grandparents who sub in when dad's traveling and working. And so he grew up with that. And of course, my wife is an amazing stepmom and an amazing mom. As you know, we have a kid together, Angela, who's 2 now. So, we've sort of like gone through some of the things that are very challenging as a family. But, you've got my wife who holds it down for me, regardless of what I'm doing, where I'm doing it. And then you got my parents who've always had my back throughout the tough times and, going through the initial separation with my son's mom and, going through divorce and those things that people don't want to talk about. But that's what made my family unique. So made my life experience unique. You know what I mean? And now the challenge is how do you improve every day? Right. That's the only challenge that's left. So,
yeah, I mean,
shout out to Kiwi from Paris.
Shout out to Kiwi.
Kiwi.
But I'm gonna one last thing I'm gonna say on the baldness, bro. And that's it. Then I'm fucking moving on, bro. The reason, because you said it was important topic, and it is important. I don't think people talk about it enough, especially kids or people that are about like starting to lose their hair. Like once I cut this motherfucker off, bro, so much weight fell off my shoulders, dude.
I can't explain it to people.
I can't explain it.
I'm telling you, and this is and I don't know if it's your brain fucking with you. I know this has been going on for a long time. The first time I felt free in my life is when I got my head shaved by Nikki and Kat.
That's how I feel, bro.
And like I was 17 years old, and the freeing moment was incredible. And I can't describe it, but to this day, I get that feeling every time I shave my head. Like you feel like a new man when you do it. And again, I don't know what it does to the psyche, but I assume since it's kind of sort of close to all the nerve endings and everything is kind of happening up there, like there could be an effect that I'm not aware of. But you know, if you're a balding dude, it doesn't matter what the age is, just shave your fucking head.
Just shave your head.
Just shave your head, man. And I'll tell you, like, your life will be freer than ever. Again, sounds like a joke, not a joke. And what's funny is I've met a lot of men who did the same thing. They were like, why did I do this sooner? And so if you're a bro and fighting a good fight of trying to keep your hair, just fucking shave it.
Fucking shave it.
You know, and you got choices. You can go Borja style, which is super smooth and aerodynamic and great diver. You can do Sasha like, you know, negative 0.005, you know, cut. But the point is you can do it. Try
and
it.
the thing is, it's you know, I always had hair and I was like, oh, my confidence, you know, blah blah blah. Dude, when I shaved it, bro, I was confident as shit, man.
See?
And the thing is, girls like it too. So it's not like, you know,
as long as my wife likes it, and if she doesn't like it, well, then she married wrong.
Right.
But you know,
exactly.
At this point in time, there's not many choices because she's not getting the hair Sasha ever again. You know, she's not getting that 1995 sitting on Cadillac Vogues and Hydros Sasha.
Maybe so for Halloween.
She's not even for Halloween. No, I put a taco hat on my head. You know, I'll be Batman, but not. We're gonna forego the hair. So men, cut your hair if you got some issues. We're dealing with every topic today, Bo.
Everything, man.
Everything. We're not nothing sacred today, guys and gals watching this.
You just let me know when you gotta wrap it up, brother.
No, I'm sure Secret Service will call. They'll be like, "Sir, somebody's claiming to be with." Oh yes, never mind. We're not gonna involve these wonderful people behind the scenes of what we've had to deal with for the last couple of days here in Milwaukee.
So you were selling light bulbs out of your trunk. I respect that.
Yep.
Any education after high school?
Yes, I went to college.
I don't know if you mentioned that. My bad if you did.
I actually wanted to be a doctor. Most people don't know that, but the medicine took a backseat to the business pretty quickly, and I really wanted to be a physical sport therapist. Like I was really into sport therapy and medical therapy and like physical therapy because I was into sports. Shot put and discus and basketball and a runner, and so I really wanted to be an athlete, and I was a great athlete, but like the survival mode was more important than the athlete thing, and so it's interesting that at the end of the day, the business thing took off, and again, it catapulted me away from the neighborhood that I didn't like being in. So it felt like the right thing, and so pre-med quickly took a backseat. So I did go to Arizona State University in Tempe, Arizona, in Phoenix, where I grew up. But it was a challenge because by that time my business was huge already, and so, as you know the story, but some of the folks at home may not know the story. The trunk sales turned into internet sales, and so having been a pioneer in the online digital e-commerce space in the 90s was a very interesting challenge. Number one, it got me away from the hood activities because I had to sit in front of a computer and enter things manually, right? And then James and I would sit in the trailer and literally on the computer enter every price and every light bulb into this dancing bear website. And it was the early stage of e-commerce, and I quickly and as some viewers know, James and I parted ways, and we decided to go in different directions with the businesses that we had. But at the end of the day, we were early pioneers of the automotive e-com space. And that turned into this digital know-how because we were there day one. When I say day one, let's say decade one, right? We were there figuring out what the hell the internet
What year is this?
95 going to 96.
And the internet came out when?
83, right?
Okay.
The initial internet. But like, mass adoption till the late 90s, the Lycos and the web outlook and like IRC chats. You really... early 90s were experimental days, right? And so it was tough to even know who's doing what because it was so loose, right? And so, but again...
So what did you use it for your light bulb business?
At that time, again, we had like a dancing bear with, brown and yellow and green. It was just the fact of trying to figure out what the hell this internet thing is. And the purpose was to try to feature catalogs of car parts. So we stopped doing the trunk stuff. And that actually was the catapult to me launching one of the world's largest conglomerates of car parts online, obviously focused on what I knew: lowriders, racers, lifted trucks, lower trucks, but things that were in my wheelhouse that I enjoyed and loved as a hobby. As you know, I'm a huge car hobbyist, and I love my lowriders, and people find it interesting that I like hydraulics and wires, but I grew up with that, right? So that's what I focused on. And I decided to really just focus on growing the internet thing, and really got serious about 99 into 2000. I wouldn't even say it was all experimentation, but it was experimentation with intent to learn. Because I didn't want to be at the car shows every weekend with car parts in my trunk of my cars. Like, that's not what I want to do. And I also wasn't mechanically inclined. I had a vision of how to make a car custom and great because I was surrounded by that automotive beauty, but I wasn't like mechanic. It wasn't my thing ever, right? And my focus was, well, then how do I impact an industry? And that went from a survival quest, get out the hood, make some trunk money, right? Buy for 3, sell for 5. Then it turned into, wait a minute, what's this internet thing? Learning, keep me away from the hood activities. And then it turned into, holy shit, people are asking and calling you, beeping you on your pager, like, hey, do you have light bulbs for my Caprice, right? 77 glass house. And it was like, as fast as the internet grew, that's how fast my business grew. And then quickly into 2000, 2001, 2002, and some of that recognition with the Fast and the Furious cars we built, and, you know, some of the participation.
You built some of those cars?
Yeah,
you guys did?
Yeah, of course. White label, right? So we couldn't put our logos on it. The movie studio had to put their logo. That's fine. Again, none of this was done for ego. It was done for the coolness of the experience.
Right.
Money was great, but it wasn't built for the money, because eventually, I got out the hood, and I started having employees. And I'm going to college, and I've got employees working 24 hours in my warehouse, shipping and packing parts. And then I became very famous in the car forums community in the late 90s and the 2000s with the same attitude, like, how do we fuck this up? How do we make this better for the car community? How do I get better prices for exhaust from, Japan, from HKS, and calling people, and just really being a digital hustler on top of an actual hustler. And one thing led to another, and, pretty soon, I made an automotive e-com empire.
What was it called?
At the time, I started it. It was called Crystal Visions was the first name. When it was light trunk, I call it the trunk light bulb stage. And for Crystal Vision Custom Accessories, turned into Southwest Auto Works, because Phoenix Southwest, and then eventually turned into a really corporate footprint called sportcompactonly.com, and which I obviously ended up becoming a very big corporation in my own right. I don't mean like Amazon, but I mean in the automotive space, it was a well-recognized name. We had our own series called Kid Turbo on online, and people asking for advice for racers, and Fast and Furious had taken hold. So less lowriders, more into the racers and the racer cars, the Hondas with the big wings. Simply, that's where the shift went, right? And then I got approached by Boston Car Racing out of Boston, and they ended up. That was my first exit, right, in 2003.
Your first exit?
My corporate exit, selling.
Oh, selling a company.
Yeah, selling a company,
nice.
right? Today we're so good about startups and pre-seed, seed, and Series A, B, C, and then I exit for Unicorn, right? The reality is back then we were just a business that was sold, but now today we call it a successful exit, and it was. I'm not taking away from the success of it.
Are they still around? Sorry.
They actually closed doors, I heard, in 2018, so it lasted for another 15 years after I sold the company.
Maybe because of COVID?
No, it was before COVID. No, I think the owner was getting elderly. The owner of Boston Racing, he was away from the racing scene and got into classics. And I know he launched some classic car stuff. Again, we sort of, obviously, as life goes, but again, and by the time I sold the company, I was manufacturing my own branded parts under the SWA, the Southwest Auto Works brand. And so I was a manufacturer under my own label, white label manufacturer, had machines and huge warehousing, and had this cult-like following because I was dedicated to the craft, finding the best prices, the best product, and hustling the whole time, and driving around those very custom cars that I built, for the shows, to see that what people like me can do out there. So it was a very interesting time, because it all blended together. The love for cars, the love to get out the hood, the ability to get out the hood with money, college, mind you, I'm literally in college driving 40 minutes to get to 7:40 a.m. class, just so I can get done with everything by 11 and jet back to the warehouse to start packing stuff till 3 in the morning. And I'm 20 years old.
When did you realize, did you finish college?
I did, yes. I graduated from Arizona State as well.
What, with a bachelor's? Or
Bachelor's of Arts, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Linguistic, foreign language association.
When did you decide to be like, I don't want to be a doctor?
Yeah, it was a cadaver that got me there. The first time I ever saw a cadaver. First time I ever smelled a cadaver. And when you're in pre-med, and I was a very good pre-med student. I was taking pre-med classes in high school. So I was good. I was good until freshman year of college when they did the field trip, and the cadaver. And my parents to this day are proud to confirm the story that I literally came home, vomited, and said I'm out, and checked myself out of pre-med and went into the whatever I could find that what had nothing to do with the smell of a cadaver, which is much different. And I've seen, unfortunately, many dead bodies growing up in the hood.
It's different. The cadaver is like dried up.
The cadaver smell and that experience, well, you're either going to be like, yes, this is going to be epic or awesome, or be like me and just disgust you for life. And so I was scarred that day.
Yeah,
literally told my parents, I'm choosing anything. And I chose, obviously, languages because, I love languages, and I speak a few here and there.
Which ones do you speak?
Italian, Spanish, English, and Serbian. So
I want to really learn how to speak Spanish. I know a little bit, like
from... hablar español. Yo viví en Mexico. Because Arizona.
You lived in?
Well, yeah. I mean, Arizona is obviously.
Right there.
We joke around. It's northern Mexico. It's 55%.
So you can have like a full-on conversation with people.
Yeah, I'm fluent. Yes. I'm not.
Can you understand music too?
Claro que sí.
Fucking bro, I'm so jealous right now.
Maybe
dude.
I don't understand a reggaeton when they start the draw, but in general, I speak 99%.
I would love to know how to I love Spanish music.
Somebody in the comments tell me how I'm doing my Spanish.
Bro, you gotta come. You gotta come to
I have a
Berwyn
Mexican
with me.
accent. I've been told. I'm like, guys, I grew up literally in a Mexican neighborhood, so of course.
You gotta come to my neighborhood.
Órale, way. So
We'll
we
go
can
outside.
practice Spanish, but come. I live in Miami. I practice Spanish every goddamn day. I just gotta figure out if it's Dominican Spanish, is it Puerto Rican Spanish, is it Cuban Spanish, and my brain's gotta switch between the 26 dialects of Spanish. But,
Yeah.
And then you got the Spaniard Spanish that comes in, and then I don't understand anything. The Catalan, you're like, oh, what are you saying?
I just think it's a beautiful language.
Oh, it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
People laugh when they hear that like half of Serbs in the world speak Spanish fluently.
And that's because
they're shocked. I'm like, oh, it's telenovelas.
Telenovelas.
You know what I mean? Like, telenovelas ruled the 90s warlord TV in Serbia, right?
I remember I went back to Serbia when I was like 16. Actually, it was in Bosnia. And these two girls were like, we went out, friends, and these two girls were speaking Spanish. And I'm like, how the hell do you guys know how to speak Spanish? Yeah, I used to watch Cassandra, bro, when I was in
the most
Borcha.
random fact about Serbia that most outsiders don't know: Spanish, right?
That's
radically weird, because they would think, oh, it's the Russian and English and German. Spanish.
Is it really?
Spanish, yes. It's the most used second language that's not formally taught.
In Serbia.
In Serbia.
No shit.
Yep.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it was like RLTV or RETV last year in 23. Talked about this, like the Spaniards being shocked that they can come to Serbia and speak fluent Spanish.
Bro, I can't wait to tell all my Mexican friends.
I know, be like, órale, wey.
Bro.
Serbia.
All right, man. I'm having a great time, bro.
I'm glad. Likewise. I told you we're gonna have a fucking.
Bro, I can sit here like 3 hours.
And I slept 3.5 hours last night, so I'm like, and my voice is gone from screaming and yelling at the R. So I'm like, you guys.
I got
the low vibrational solid today because it's been exhausting, and I appreciate everybody sticking with us while we jump theme to theme. But this is what podcasts are all about: is getting to know each other.
That's right, man. And I love this format too. It's like it's not.
You love the format of us putting together a makeship studio in the middle of the hood in Milwaukee. I mean, I'm taking a BTS, photo shot when we're done, guys, and this may be the cover, the behind the scenes. Sasha shot of this, because I've done some weird shit, but this is fucking weird, Bojo. Like this is next level weird.
Listen, bro,
this is dedication to your listeners and my followers, so y'all better appreciate this and share the fuck out of it when it's out there.
That's right, man. I mean, I quit my job 3 weeks ago, and I was like, I gotta put more focus on this.
God bless.
So one of the things I gotta do is go to people now. You know? Eventually I'll come down to Miami.
No, don't.
Or
we're full. No, I'm just kidding.
Not to live.
Yeah. Oh, okay, sure.
But I want to do like, make a trip out to Cali and set up like 4 or 5 interviews, right? Then 1 month come down to Miami, do the same thing over a weekend, So
for the purpose of
growing the podcast and growing the platform.
And I'm not sure if this sounds appropriate to the non-Serbian American listeners or non-Serbian listeners, but the fact of the matter is we really need to have a focus on Serbian American patriots and Serbian American business owners and entrepreneurs who've been hiding in the shadows and not getting recognition from the typical Forbes and Inc. And I'm not calling any media out by name, but I'm saying there's just hasn't been a loud, brash focus on us, again, quote unquote, successful Serbian American entrepreneurs in any right. Even if you don't consider yourself successful, the fact you're a hustler and grinder and doing something to feed your family and other families, the fact that you're doing this is monumentally, incredibly important today in this breaking moment in time. And I'll define what that means. But this is God's timing is incredible, because no one's done that this far, to focus on that, on the real story of the Serbian Americans in business. I'm talking about. And yes, obviously we always talk about the cultural, the religious, it all goes hand in hand, but it's high time that we recognize who we are.
Absolutely.
And our contributions. I even posted on Instagram on stories. I said, it's our time. This is for you all. It's our time to stop being in the shadows.
That's right.
And being as hardcore American as we are, and being as hardcore Serbian American as we are, to be not recognized for our contributions. That's what we've been sitting back on, while other people take credit for the amount of effort that we've put into being real patriots. And we'll get to the politics part, but that ties into the political involvement. By the way, I'm apolitical as hell. Obviously, I'm not a politician. You know what I mean? That's just not my thing. But this is for us. This is for the Serbian American Patriots, and obviously Serbs at home, or Serbs anywhere they may be. This is what we're fighting. We're not taking shit anymore. We're not going to be in the shadows anymore. We're not going to be not recognized. It's our time to say, we've been here.
That's right.
We've been paying taxes. We've been we've been amazing Americans, right? We've been the patriots that fight for some sort of right in this nation and beyond, right? Wherever we may be.
That's right.
And so what you're doing, and some of the other podcasters, I'm not going to single out names because
that's all right.
Listen, some other podcasters that have now caught wind that while we love hearing what's happening in Serbia, and it's amazing, the podcasters that are doing their job, and social Twitter guys and gals and exes, and fantastic. But who are these drivers in America of this key growth of Serbian American entrepreneurship and leadership, spiritual, energy, accelerators, hubs, funders? Like, it's time for us to come out the shadows.
And that's one of the things I saw, like, with this podcast. I was telling you earlier, I mentioned this in my first episode and many other episodes. I was missing something in life, and I wanted to feel like I was giving back instead of just going to my work, getting my paycheck, spending it, whatever, saving it. I wanted to get something more out of life. And one of the things I saw was that the Serbian community in the United States didn't have, we have all these picnics, churches, we gather, but we don't have unity. We don't have a platform like, podcasts or any kind of, like, right now we have the Serbian network in Chicago. It's this gentleman that started, like, he hosts podcasts for people, but we don't have something where we can give a platform and unite each other through social media.
Well, we don't even have a way to identify where those things are.
Right.
There's no unified communication system or approach. And so these things are coming to a head now where there's a specific need for it. Even things like mentorship programs and some of the things I've discussed with some of the Serbian American Patriots here in Milwaukee the last 48 hours. When they come out and go, Sasha, I've been following your growth in business for 15 years. I had no idea that this, and this existed. I'm like, what the hell were you looking at? Well, were you not paying attention? Because, as you know, I share a lot of resources and who's talking to whom and why. I'm trying to get us out of the shadows finally. Like, guys, gals, we've been here. Let's do this together. Let's see who's out there, who's providing mentorship, accelerator, business opportunities. I'm tired of groups, and no disrespect to all the groups, and I'm a member of many of them, but I'm tired of just groups. We are doing this to be visible. It's time for us to be visible so we know there are groups, right? There's the existence, but that's not enough, right? If content is king, distribution is queen, you people got to know about you and talk about you so you know that what you're putting out there is real. And now we as a Serbian American patriots, and not only political patriots, as citizens of this nation, like, we're now finally coming to a point where it's a need. I have to be able to identify whom I can rely on, whom I can reach out to for X, Y, Z. And it's been tried over the years. You used to have back in the 90s Serbian yellow pages, right? Like, and then the internet yellow Serbian pages. And then you had organizations and SAPN and SEN and SAN and all these and SUC and, but none of it's worked. None of it's worked to the point where we have a visible structure. And so when I show up at an RNC event or somebody else that's a Democratic Serb, which I don't know who you are out there, people, but
by the way, if there is a Democratic Serb that wants to come on the podcast, I would love to have them on.
And Boja's going to take you on. I won't be here. But
no, not to take you on, like, politically. I'm not, like, too...
That was a joke. Jokes, guys.
But I would love to hear an opposing view, from what we talk about today.
But regardless of the political view that we have, what we don't have a differentiating view is in who we are as identities. And so I don't care when we talk about this sort of the existence of the entrepreneur, right? And oftentimes it crosses, as you know, all political borders, limitations, and beliefs because of the ability to influence and impact lives. And so, the more we're visible, the more we're on your podcast, other podcasts, not based on success, based on visibility and accomplishment, right? Not success, because that's, as we discussed, different. The more we're visible, the more we're out there, the more people know there's more of us to rely on, to discuss with, right? And you saw people approaching me like, oh my God, I've been following you for you. I can't believe you saw that yesterday.
Right.
And it's not an ego thing. That's a pride thing. I've had some kid has been following me from, I'm not going to say his name, obviously, but you guys saw the post. Incredible, from Serbia to his incredible move to being an immigrant in America. And all these years been following me through social media. And he's like, oh my God, you're here, right? Like that, that's an emotional moment for me, right? It's like that's a powerful moment because it's number one, he's young, but number two, and like it's real for me because if I impacted his one life to be like, I have to get the fuck out of my life, I have to get out the hood. I saw what Sasha did. Whether or not he just saw what I did, it's not what I'm saying. There's no ego in this conversation, but he saw there's an opportunity to do better for himself and his family, and for him to be standing there yesterday. I'm like this, like I got emotional because that's a life changer. You
impacted somebody's life.
It doesn't matter if it's 1%.
Right.
That pride and again, I'm like the least, like I shouldn't be emulated. There's something wrong with me. Like, so don't be me. But the effect it had, years of me publishing stuff, how to improve your life, not like a life coach, but like real practical stuff, how to make $1, right? Like how to talk to the tax authorities, how to do your tax, like all the shit that I've been sharing for the last decade and a half, being, the god of SEO online, culminates in that one moment, which I tend to live much more often today than I used to, right? Because we're all more connected. But to have that experience is incredible, right? Right in the middle of, 15 Secret Service guys standing behind me and like, oh, come on, Mr. Jovicic, blah, 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 they gotta get the fuck, and I'm dealing with this stress and this young man who I don't know where, I found out later where we met, but, like, that's an impactful moment at anyone's life. And if you're not impacted and moved by that emotional moment, what the fuck are you living for, right? Yeah. And so that inspiration and that stuff that I try to do that for my kids and for my family and for my followers and my business partners and clients, and the list goes on and on. That's powerful. Like that is that aha moment that most entrepreneurs, business owners, workers will never have. And when you have those moments fairly regularly, like I do, again, with no ego, you're like, I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
Like this feels right. It can't feel wrong, right? There's an inspiration behind the story. So podcasters, you and others across the United States of ours, especially of the Serbian American descent, not just Serbian American, but in general, the focus on Serbian American entrepreneurship and Serbian American life has got to go on. And again, it's a perfect segue for us to talk about the political reason why I'm here and why you're here, and the things though that have shifted away. How I got to this point is by being sick and tired of not being recognized as a Serbian American. And I was like, I can't fathom that.
What do you mean by that? I'm sorry, not being recognized as a Serbian American.
Right, not being recognized as a Serbian American entrepreneur, being recognized as an entrepreneur. And my key identity, my own identity that I've fought for years to put ahead, being ignored because there's no recognition of it. I don't mean for sake of awards, I mean, holy shit, I'm a Serbian American patriot. I'm a Serbian American entrepreneur. I was born and raised in Serbia. So how is this being ignored by politicians, by influence people, by foreign policy that influences my home country where I was born, that influences my local government?
In what way was it being ignored? I'm sorry.
Just not recognized.
Just they just weren't stating it. Like,
oh, that's cool. Right.
I see.
Hello, Phoenix-based entrepreneur Aleksandar Sasha Jovicic sells sport compact only for X billion.
They wouldn't put the Serbian.
What the fuck? I wrote Serbian American Phoenix-based entrepreneur Aleksandar Sasha. They wrote Phoenix, Arizona, blah blah blah. And I'm like, what? I have a plaque from 2003, a gigantic national. I'm not gonna say the name because they don't deserve the credit. for their intentional fuck up. I still have the plaque. It's saved in my house. I've moved it for years. 2003, December 26th, day after Christmas. And it says, Phoenix-based entrepreneur, Alex with an X. My name's not Alex with an X, if you guys haven't caught on.
Sorry.
And that was you should have seen my fucking face when I wake up that day, the day after my sale. The 25th, Christmas, was the official close day, even though, it was Christmas Day. The 26th, I wake up and I read this in a national newspaper. They ask me for a quote in my identification bio, and they skip the Serbian American part that prefaced the conversation. And your brain at the age of 24 goes,
yeah.
Or I guess in many people, they don't give a flying fuck. They're just happy to be in the, in this prestigious,
right, it's one or the other.
International, national recognition, right? The ego play. Ooh. I'm not saying ego wasn't stroked. I'm saying y'all ignored who the fuck I am.
Right.
Not that that's more important than this or that. The point is you omitted the essence of me.
Purposely.
So you're going to delete my history? You're going to delete who I am? I'm a proud American. I get that. You don't say that in every article. Proud American sold this company. But you asked me for a bio that's significant to me because it's in the automotive industry that was pretty important back then. It was a big deal to exit a company, especially in the digital online e-com space. You ignored the essence of what made me me. You ignore the essence of how I got through the fucking hood, where I came from, what language I speak, and so that triggers a different part of your brain that then transcends, 2003 into 2004. I gotta get active. Something's wrong here, right? And I've got Syrian American friends, I've got Persian American friends, and they're recognized as Persian American, successful, and even in the car scene, there's this, these are the Persian American lowrider crowd, blah blah blah, and the Persian Americans, the Syrian Americans, Syrian American. I'm like, what the fuck is going? Why are we being ignored? And it starts as a moment, what the hell, and it actually becomes a pattern, and then I identify the pattern, and so every moment and I say I woke up December 26, 2023, the date of that plaque that I have in my house, that omitted the very key point of what I wrote about myself. That was offensive to somebody? That was irrelevant to somebody? Well, guess what? Not irrelevant to me, not irrelevant to my country that was bombed 4 years ago. And all the emotional, psychological triggers of now what you guys know in the podcast, all that comes to a halt. In one moment, you read your very biggest accomplishment when you're 24, because it's huge, right?
Right.
To be shut down?
Yeah.
Because I'm a Serbian American? I'm not saying they did it because of that. I'm not saying that I don't want it ever to be like that. What I'm saying is that's how I perceived it.
And so you feel like that's one of our problems here, being a Serbian American in the United States, is we don't get recognized enough.
How many people had no idea that I exist yesterday? I'm like, where the hell y'all been?
You mean the Serbians there?
Yeah. How many people don't know Serbs For Trump exists? I'm like, did y'all read the flag? Like, 8 years being President Trump's coalition partner, hundreds of thousands of social media followers across all the platforms. I don't even know. I don't. It doesn't matter the numbers. Whatever. It's significant. Strahinja, our social media manager, 20 hours a day busting his ass to get our visibility for years.
Right.
Ungrateful job. Nobody pays us.
Right.
It's because we wanted recognition for who we are, what we contribute to this great nation of ours, and not just this great nation of ours. Our home nation, our original nation, our still whatever you classify. Don't come in the fucking comments talking about what is Serbia. Shut the fuck up. You do you, we'll do us. Don't tell me how to represent my nation because you didn't step up. Now, if you stepped up or you have an alternate standpoint, then please come talk to me.
Right.
But if you didn't do what we did or what I did, and when I say I often speak in the name of the team, as I've discussed before. But you tell me you've never heard of us? After all the years of being at the front lines fighting for Serbian American interests, because we are Serbian American patriots, the light bulb then goes from anger to action. And in 2004, my whole life changed because I literally went, okay, I can now, at the age of 24, do something about this. I can. Who are these people? Who are they? Where are they? Where are they hiding? Not at church halls. Okay, that's not a solution. Maybe business meetings. Okay, associations. And it quickly snowballs, right? And then it goes into a crack and explosion, right, in February 2008 during the the separation of Kosovo away from Serbia, the de facto illegal declaration of independence, And then the second explosion in my brain occurs, where it's not about Albanians versus Serbs versus anything, where it's something that's on paper that's illegal. And some bureaucratic politician out there says, what do you know, Serb? What do you mean it's illegal? What's this 1244 UN resolution? For those American viewers, it's a UN security resolution that guarantees Kosovo as part of Serbia. I'm saying Kosovo for the brevetness, for the ultra-nationalists following me, right? What do you mean that piece of paper that guarantees that Kosovo has limited autonomy, right, as a province of Serbia is now, poof, gone. And forget all that. Everything we wrote is, haha.
When was that written?
2008.
The one you were just talking about.
2008.
2008?
The Declaration of Independence occurred in 2008.
Okay.
So you're saying, you were talking about UN Resolution 1244.
Yes,
Version 1 was in the Dayton Accords of 99, right?
Okay.
The Dayton Accords, then 99. So 95 then 99. 95 was the preamble. 97 was the second draft. 99 when everything went down with the bombing of Serbia, right?
And then 9 years later, they just like...
And then we just said,
it.
you know what? Forget it. This doesn't,
This doesn't
we
apply.
say in Serbian, pupik and evaži. You know what I mean? Like, just wipe it away. Just throw it away because that's not what we said.
Yeah.
You're reading this wrong. And if you're semi-intelligent with a brain and you happen to be Serbian anywhere in the world, but especially Serbian American, you're like, what the fuck just happened? You're saying this 1 dot whatever is not, I'm not reading that correctly. Well, it's open to interpretation, and and so this goes so far removed from Kosovo, Albanian question, Serbian question, nationalistic question. This becomes a geopolitical bullshit game where you're looking and reading a piece of paper, asking 5 people around you, and those 5 people say, of course, that's what it says. And a 6th person who's not Serbian, not Albanian, not part of the conflict says, well, because we're, letters 1, 2, 3, alphabet 1, 2, 3, ABC, we know better than you do, sit down, Serb. And then the next level, just like that December 26, 2023 moment, there's February 2028 where I fucking explode, lose my shit. And a dear friend of mine, Aleksandar Sasha in Phoenix, a huge Serbian American Patriot, recognized my blowing up and saying, okay, well then let's assemble, right? And that's the first time the political activism in me becomes not just geopolitical, but political in the United States, where I say enough is enough.
2008.
2008, yeah.
How did you get involved then politically? What did you guys start doing to kind of...
So in 2015, there was a significant need, right? We knew that everything that we've experienced as Serbs in Serbia and Serbs in America somehow kept pointing to the very random fact that Democrats didn't really like us. Liberals didn't really like Serbs. I don't mean Serbs in America alone, but Serbs in America or Serbs in Serbia. And you could say, well, that perception's not like that or whatever, but simply the foreign policies did not reflect any sort of care. And it felt like we were getting free kicks on the field by every Democrat that walked through the door, starting with the bombing in 99, then continuing with the wiping of the UN 1244 resolution saying, look, you're blind. What are you talking about? That's not what it says. And the progressive nature of the intensity of the attacks against Serbian Americans and Serbs in general in the world became almost a little manic, right? It felt to any Serb like, what the hell is going on? Well, how do if we had a bad guy, whatever your belief is, if we had a bad guy and he was taken off and now we're trying to reincorporate into the modern world, well, how the hell are we the bad guys still? Well, we're trying to do better for ourselves. Oh, no, you're the bad guy. Now, you're the bad guy. Wait a minute. What did we do that's going to make us the bad guy knowing what we know? Did we fuck up? Yeah. Did everybody else fuck up? Yeah. It's called war. It's terrible. Horrendous. Everything that happened. Wait a minute. It was an actual war. It wasn't pretend activity. People were at war. And I'm not going to go into the full politics, but the outcome in America was my elevation into, who the fuck is my governor? Who's my senator? And me not knowing anything about the structured politics. Now I'm asking questions. Why the fuck do Alex and I, my buddy Alex Stojicic in Phoenix, hey Alex, are having black Tahoes follow us after our visible protest, our right to assembly in downtown Phoenix with 3,000 Serbs in Kosovo's Serbia protest? And I'm not going to make this podcast about Albanians. So
right.
Again, that's not the conversation. But why are we being ignored? Oh, well, it was an Arizona Senator De Concini that got this. What the fuck? In my own backyard? Well, he started in 1993. What? And then, I got goosebumps right now. And all of a sudden, you're now awakened to, you're no longer 24.
Mm-hmm.
You're no longer just ego or whatever you want to call it. Now you're awake. You're like, there's some shit really shitty right now. I really have got to do something about this. Now, I don't know if it was just me, but it's my experience that I'm talking about. So if there's other people
Mm-hmm.
out there, God bless you. But in my experience, that woke up the next phase, right? Phase 2 of Avengers Solid.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this not right. This can't be right. And as luck would have it, there's many other Serbian American patriots that felt the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And over the next few years, as the volatility of Serbia continued to evolve into this complex machinery, and recovery accelerated in economics, and I opened my first office and second office and third business in Serbia, started hiring people on the ground, and so things accelerated to do things that I felt were improving the American-Serbian relations. Not just American Serbs with Serbian Serbs. I meant nation to nation. Then I had access to go talk to the ambassador and say, I have economic interest as an American Serb or Serbian American into Serbia. What are we doing here? To learn, to find out. And then the same situation happens.
Yeah.
Closed door after closed door. Because I'm not a German and again, no disrespect to the Germans, but I'm not a German powerhouse bringing 100 million. I'm Sasha Jovicic from Miami bringing $1 million to open a business. Or whatever the quantity is. I'm not, again, no ego stroke, but just we're talking the differences in sizes. Well, those guys get 63% tax breaks on their employees. Sasha, you're a Serb, Ian American, so you get nothing.
Yeah.
Or if you come knock on our door, well, you have to give us a little bit back, and all of a sudden you got the local sheriff, and this starts happening where you're bobbing and weaving with the very people you're trying to help. And that brings in phase 3, where I'm like, you know what? Now I'm pissed. Now I'm not good enough over here as a Serbian American in America. And now I'm not good enough because I'm an American Serb in Serbia? Where are we headed with this? And then it clicked in my head. Is in order to change something, you have to have, in our world, in the Serbian American world, because we're so tied to Serbia back home, America is always first because we're American patriots. But we have this incredible cultural tie. What do I do to change this? I don't mean my situation. I mean the situation. All of the situations that are happening. And that's where the Serbs for Trump ideology, because it's an organization, yes, but ideology that the founder, an incredible friend of mine, Dr. Olga Ravasi, the founder of Serbs for Trump, alluded to. She was like, what is this? What a problem are we trying to solve here? Right? And I was like, yes, this is the problem I'm trying to solve. And she said, this is the problem I'm trying to solve. I said, this is what I can contribute to our cause. And she said, this is what I can contribute to my cause. And that's how Serbs for Trump started. And the way it started and why for Trump is because everything that we had heard come out of this man's policies and mouth made sense.
Yeah.
It seemed to align with the vision of what a good world should be in America. And then he would speak on Serbia, and you're like, okay, that seems reasonable. Maybe not perfect because he maybe not knowing things, but he's interested, right? And his wife's grandma, Serbian, and she speaks Serbian at home, and things start clicking where you're like, well, okay, without an opportunity for me, the opportunity for our people is, well, let's change something, because whatever we had before wasn't working, right? It's not working. It's not effective to the point that it can be. And then I call it the phase 3 of 2015 into 2016, where I said, okay, I don't have the time. I'm a serial entrepreneur with some amazing businesses, some failing businesses, but I'm an entrepreneur. I got to handle business. And so I wanted to do this. And so for many years, I supported Dr. Ravasi, and many of the selfless Serbian American patriots. And then as we grew as an organization, as a vision of a better Serbian American connection, then other people, Department of State, ambassadors, congressmen, congresswomen, senators, local politicians, mayors started coming up and saying, there's Serbs in my city, town, village, creek, whatever. Wait, who are Serbs? Started at the base level. But the awareness had begun. And then month after month, year after year, we're out there talking to people. It didn't matter if it was a luncheon at a local mayor. We're just talking and saying, hi, did you know that there's 2,380 of us in Tampa, Florida? And they're like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Shocking people because what? We were not visible. As Serbian Americans, we had no visibility besides the church halls and the kola and
Yeah.
which is great for our culture, but we had no visibility outside of our own for ourselves. I'm not talking about individually, collectively.
Collectively. Yeah, we don't have that identity here collectively.
Well, I mean, you saw the help me out, the people counting. Oh my God, my brain just stopped.
People counting.
What's the call?
Oh, the census?
Census, thank you.
Yeah.
My brain completely just went blank.
I don't know where the fuck I pulled that out of, but I remember that.
Census in the U.S. What, 200,000 Serbs in America?
That's how the
What the fuck?
showed? How many is there?
Well, I mean, how do I know? I don't know, but it's in excess of 1.5 million.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And my dad used to tell me stories, that when they did the hand counting at Svetisava, in Gračanica, in Chicago, in Illinois, in the 80s, my dad would go visit his uncle there was 200,000 Serbs back then in Chicagoland alone. Hello, Chicagoland.
That's right. What's up, Chicago?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
80s. And they thought it was 300 back then. Nah, you're telling me after all the wars and all the shit and we're at 200,000? Like, what are we, Of course, we then found out the census is completely wrong and it's irrelevant, but we're not visible.
We're not, no. And
as entrepreneurs, as patriots, we're not visible.
Yeah. And the only way to help, back home, right, and unite the two countries is if we have an identity here.
Well, if we have a leadership.
A leadership,
If we're visible, number one, visibility. Number two, leadership with clear goals of what Serbian Americans contribute to America. Because we can't get to step 3, because if 1 and 2 are not there, we have no visibility and we have no directive of what we as Serbian American patriots are doing. What do we want? What are we contributing? And not what you can do for your country, right? Right? Is that what it is? No. If you're a patriot, it's not good enough to employ people and say, I'm a patriot and pay taxes and die. Not good enough. Why? Because we have this incredible tie to our homeland and we have to be able to rebuild the homeland, but not in this manner. And more importantly, if we're not contributing to the foreign policy here in the United States of America at every level, again, from the local level to the highest, to the president of the United States, and there's nobody talking about it, well, how are they going to know that we are in trouble?
Exactly.
We're a tiny nation. Serbia and Serbdom is tiny. 10 million of us in the world. That we think, right, because we hide behind the censuses. Who's leading that? Who's leading the recognition of that? And I don't look any further than my Italian American lobby friends. I look at the Jewish lobby friends, and they're like, we're visible. We want people to know. And I'm not isolating Assyrians, right? The Assyrian, there's only 150,000 in America. Their lobby, we're visible. I call it lobby for identification purposes. It's visibility. So now we have a 3-step plan, and that's where Serbs for Trump put it together, right? And I'm not thanking any one person, but as an idea, somebody had to put the effort to come to a head and say, this most closely aligns to the things that we believe will be of amazing service and contribution to and by American Serbs and back home in Serbia. And that's where the visibility began. And obviously, over the years, we've fought through many things, right? Disjointment, disappointments, people saying one thing, do another thing for us or not for us. But that's all part of the long-term strategy. What is clear and should be clear to every Serbian American is that we put an actual axe in the ground and said enough. We've never had a starting point. We now have a starting point. And again, if you're a Serbian Democrat, I love you. You're amazing. Explain to me how you can vote for the party that bombed Serbia in 1999 illegally.
And with, the current president on record when he was...
Our current president was the one saying, please,
yes, I
encourage you to bomb us. I'm not going to paraphrase. I'm going to paraphrase the horrendous video that's embedded in every Serbian American's brain for the rest of our history. And that's our president of the United States. And you guys voted for him if you're a Serbian Democrat.
Yeah.
Again, God bless you because you're amazing. And you're my brother and sister in Christ. But help me understand that. What did that do for Serbdom or Serbian Americans, right? And this is not a hypothetical. This is a fucking problem. And we identified it. And as a group said, enough. Here's this axe, put in the ground. This is the first step. Whatever this means. People can be pissed off, upset, angry. We had weird outbursts, And I'm like, really? My effort out of my pocket? Because I have a 1, 2, 3 plan? You don't? Well, if you don't like my plan, why don't you go do your plan? Let's see how that works out for you.
Right.
Or the elders that came before us. I don't mean by age elders. I mean people who, did so much good stuff. Well, I have a clear plan. and I'm no politician, as you know. Like, I've got mouths to feed, but I have a clear plan. Visibility, right? Presence, action. And that, to me, then culminates in all these things. And, of course, as you saw yesterday, it's resonating with people. It makes sense. Well, it's that simple. Yeah, it literally is that simple. Provide love and support to those who support and love you. Step one. Be visible. Talk about us. Don't talk about yourself. You know?
Right.
We know who you are, right? Any individual. What are we doing? What are we trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah. And you can definitely tell, like, I say there's racism against Serbians here. Not like within the people, but from the establishment, right? Like, I just look at Novak Djokovic, for example, and how the media treats him and the crowd as well, like when he plays in Wimbledon or the US Open. And you can't tell me that they don't like him because of his personality. He's not likable. I think it's 100% because of his last name and because of where he comes from.
Well, we learned that as Serbian Americans, I had this conversation with an incredible congresswoman who's been part of our group for many, many years. And one thing that's clearly apparent is we've got to stop giving a fuck about what people perceive us to be and start being what we are. And that's by identifying what is it that we're trying to accomplish. And so we know that we're not genocidal maniacs. We know we're not killers. And we know we didn't deserve our current president to tell the world that we deserve to be bombed. That's what we deserve for having an internal strife, civil war, because we didn't want to give up our land that's historic and religious to us. That's what we deserve? Destruction of a Christian nation in the middle of Europe in 1999? That's our punishment? Or is that our thank you for, you know, when our flag flew over the White House, right?
Right.
That's our thank you to the global contribution through the world wars, and then it all comes together at an event like Milwaukee RNC 2024 today, right, being the last day, you know, in July of 2024, and all the events and all the things that are happening globally, and people still have the balls to say, well, you guys are Serbs for Trump, or if there's Serbs for Biden that I don't know about, or Serbs for Kennedy, you know, God bless you all, but we drew a line in the sand.
Yeah.
As an organization, as a belief system. Forget the organization. Like, that's not what this is about. But then, is that political? Is that cultural? It's definitely not business, because everything costs money out of my pocket. So to me, it's a loss. So I don't get contributions from anybody. We talked about this, right? Look at the filings, you know. Who's the number one donor for all these organizations? Me. That's my pride. That's my donation. But then I'm here away from my family, fighting for a good cause. And you saw the post, you know, getting invited to Charlie Kirk. I don't care if you hate him. He invited us as an organization, invited me to speak about what are Serbian American Patriots doing? What the fuck's going on with you guys?
Right.
Yeah, Benny Johnson, right? You saw the image, you know, getting a text message from them and saying, oh, you guys are still here? Like, you guys are still fighting a good fight? Whoa. Oh my God. That shock and surprise was positive, not negative. They saw that as small representation as we have, we're a loud vocal majority by energy, and that's good enough. But don't get in our way. If you don't have a plan or idea, or don't care about my 3-step plan, get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
Don't sit and tell me that this is not what we should be doing, because if you knew better, you'd do better. And if you can do better, you wouldn't be sitting in front of me. You'd be out there doing better.
That's the problem. Serbs kind of hold each other back.
Is that what it is? Do you believe that, really?
Not from my mutual friends, not from my inner circle.
Then it's not true. See, another one of those genetic lies that Serbs hold each other back. Like, who the fuck propagated that? We may be strongly opinionated.
But when somebody's doing well, I often hear that.
Is that what it is?
That's what I hear.
Well, perception is reality, I guess. But to me, it's not.
No, you get a lot of support from the Serbian community.
I definitely do.
Yeah.
Even if it's a good word. Would you like me to? We can publicly share some of the DMs as the result of the last 24 hours. People to follow me.
Yeah.
It's all love and there's always that one asshole that, you know.
Like that lady.
Exactly. Yeah. You know what I'm talking. You know what I'm talking about. You know, like, really?
Yeah.
Fuck, you know. But it's okay. It's if you don't have haters, you're doing something wrong, right? And that's become the life mantra. But you know the DMs, and I share them often, not to expose people, you know, hide people's identities, because there's many important people that follow me, truly important. I mean, to, you know, and I don't reveal because it's you know it's ugly. Yeah. But the sentiment is, Sash, you did something. You move the needle somehow. And when I say let me repeat this one more time. I'm not taking credit for it. I'm saying a part of a greater structure within that I belong to, right? That crosses the political boundaries, business boundaries, familial, cultural, religious. Move the needle. And if I move the needle to help, like I inspired that one young man, he knows who he is. I'm sure he's gonna watch this and recognize himself. If I can move the needle with one young man from Serbia to America to come and improve his life, then can I do that with one senator, one congresswoman, one head of state, one president? And then if I can show them that I am worthy of respect, that my people are worthy of respect, and more importantly, that we demand our voice to be heard for the right reasons, not because we need to be loud and boisterous, even though we are, then is it the Serbs stopping the Serbs? Or is the perception of Serbs stopping Serbs that's stopping the Serbs? And at the end of the day, if that's what you thrive on, weakness and perceptions, then you don't belong anywhere in this fight. That's okay. Go about your way, do whatever makes you happy. Go back to Serbia and spend your hard-earned American money on rakia and help the economy and contribute that way. That's important. We need that financial help to our families back home. That's okay. You're still helping, by the way. FYI.
Yeah.
So thank you again. God bless my brothers and sisters. You know, I'm not mad at that. But when it comes to this current moment in time in 2024, we believe, and many people in America believe, voters, Serbian American voters, believe that there's no way that Biden and his team can understand us, like us, represent, and more importantly, we know with spoken word that his party hates us.
Right.
Because he said that as the leader of his party.
Yeah.
Did he not? He didn't say, I love you. He said, I will bomb you worse than Nagasaki. We should bomb you until you don't exist. You should die. And now, as a Serbian American Republican Conservative Patriot, that guy is the president of my nation.
Right.
That I live, reside, and raise my kids in, pay my taxes. That's who we should be voting for? I don't know if I'm wrong or insane, but what in the fuck alternate timeline are we living in? You know, a friend comes up and goes, I'm a Democrat, you know, because I live here and there. Okay, great. God bless. You're gonna, you know, you're voting for Biden? Then we have a problem, right? Not because it's Biden, but it's one of the causes that it's Biden. You ever heard Trump say, oh, we should bomb Serbia? No.
Never.
He brought the president of Serbia, right, to sit in front of him, like in a chaotic day, and there's bombing going on in Afghanistan day, and people always make fun of that photo, like, oh, you know, President such and such sat in front of President Trump, and he belittled him. I'm like, there is an actual chaotic scene going on with 13 people die, right, and blah, blah, blah that day, and you think that's the intent, to belittle Serbs? No, dude was going from 19 meetings to the 20th meeting and said, I need to urgently speak with you. Sit, please. Let's do this. Sense of urgency, right? Not disrespect.
What was the disrespect? Like, I don't get, what was the
you know, I'm not going to get into it because it's irrelevant, but it's a moment in time where somebody can use that photo and say, look, President Trump disrespected Serbs. Enough.
I got to pull up the photo because
it's historic at this stage.
I want to see.
They call it the hoklica. I'm not going to translate to little chair in Serbia. Okay. Little chair, right?
They got him sitting in like a little. Okay.
Yeah, all the chairs in the White House are little like that.
Yeah, I got you.
Except the president's chair.
Right.
Sorry, assholes. Sorry to burst your bubble. None of y'all have ever been to the White House, apparently. But if you have, you'll notice that most of the chairs are 1700s and 1800s and 1900s, and most of them are historic. And when Secret Service grabs a chair, like yesterday, they'll bring you a metal stool with no back, and you're going to sit there even though you're a congressman of Florida, right? You saw that yesterday.
No, what happened?
It doesn't matter. The point is fuck you. This wasn't a fancy moment for a photo op. There's something that needed to get done. It was urgent.
Right.
And that's a moment of disrespect to our nation. Stupid people, please stop talking about stuff if you're stupid. You know, realize that you're dumb, that you don't belong in the conversation. Your voice does not need to be heard if you're dumb. Right.
We can hear it, but we're, you know, if it's a...
No, you have the right to speak.
Right, but we're not going to absorb it.
We should not hear your voice.
Yeah.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Because it's not valid. It's not real. It's real in your fucking head.
Yeah.
But the real reality is that everything we're working on right now is to set things the right way. And if this is level one of our recovery as Serbian Americans, then fine. This is step one, because everything else we've done before this doesn't seem like valid steps.
Right.
And it just so happens that I got involved and started my activities in bringing that awareness. And now we're at somewhere. Now it feels like we're somewhere. And people that have been in the fight long, not just people that recognize, will come up to me and say, thank you. Not just me, anybody. And say, we recognize that there's this greater fight that's happening. And it feels like we're now doing something. The vibe is different. The energy is different and things are moving. We're getting recognized. Our flags are flying at the RNC for the first time in history. I want everybody following this podcast to recognize this is the first time in the history of the United States of America that our flag is flying at the RNC, at the Republican National Convention. There's a truck parked, driving around, Serbian flags. There's flags inside the stadium.
Inside?
Yes, there. Yeah,
wow.
I recorded last night, posted for everybody to see. If you don't think that's a monumental shift, you're wrong. You don't belong in this fight. And that's it. We've shifted something. Perception is no longer reality. We've now built a new reality. And if you don't like it, that's okay. I still love you and respect you as brothers and sisters, but please get out of the way.
So you kind of we got into your thoughts a little bit on the Biden administration. Actually, I was going to ask, what are your thoughts on the career politicians? Like, Biden's been in politics his whole life, right?
Is it 57 years or something?
I don't know, man, but I feel like it should be like a 15, 20-year maximum. Because here's my view at it, right? If you're in there for that long, in my eyes, there's no way that you're not like compromised somehow.
Well, I think it should be, I don't care about the time. It should be KPI based, like your employees.
What's KPI based?
Like key point indexes, like or key performance index, or it depends on
performance index. Okay.
Performance based bonus, right? If you fuck up and my taxes go up, you get fired, or you get a suspension for 6 months, or you have half your pay taken away.
Right.
If my school starts teaching radical transgender agenda to my 3-year-old, like, you're getting fired, like business. You fuck up in business, you get fired, right? They fuck up in politics, and what happens?
Nothing.
Slap on the wrist, fine, paid 3 months off, like
nothing. Absolutely
I don't know the
nothing.
system, and again, I'm not a politician, but I don't know the details, the intricate details of everything. But it does feel like
it feels like nobody.
But there are employees.
Yeah.
We pay the government. There are public servants, and it feels that we're the ones serving, that we're the actual servants, not them, right?
We're the only ones that are held accountable if we fuck up in any way. Right. Work-wise, life-wise.
So then, humor me. If you have a shitty employee, you may hang on for a month or 2 or 3, right? Trying to give them second chances. But by about month 4, you're like, listen, we're done. Have a nice day. It's time to go. Years go by and nobody holds them accountable. Nobody says, listen, that's a fuck up, Oh, we bombed a nation. It's illegal. Well, stuff happens, and oops, you read it wrong. We're right. And that's the reality of what we need to change as Serbian Americans.
Yeah.
Or so I think. My humble opinion, as I would say.
I agree with you. Yeah. What about with... Well, I guess we already talked about that too with the Trump end, but I was going to ask, was he a good or bad president? I know what you're going to say, but why was he a good president from 16 to 20?
So there was a conversation. I'm not going to say who was at the table. It's irrelevant, but there was a conversation at the top of this nation of ours where the outcome, the end result was there's just not enough time to fix the amount of mess that our nation is in. And so then prioritize. So how do you prioritize this nation of ours? Does Serbia become a priority in a nation that's falling apart? No. Serbia is some random country. It's got its own problems. It's got its own leadership. It's functioning. It's got a bunch of shit, but they're out there somewhere, right? And so the America First idea that was born quite simply then talks about, okay, we have lots of problems in the world, but is Donald J. Trump's priority Serbia? Should it be? Should be America first. We've got to fix this shit here. And so the answer is what did he fix in those 4 years? Let's say he fixed nothing. Let's say it was all terrible, right? As the Democratic voters will often point out. He did nothing, everything was worse. The perception, if we're going to go on perception, how can it be feeling so right? And prices of economy being cheap and things moving and flowing, and things are happening that are trending in the right direction, because Americans love trends. We like to see where we're going with this, right? So we don't get caught off guard. And things were looking better. Prices were going down, taxes were going down, reform was happening to the fastest of their ability in the impact of 4 years. Serbia, hello, you got a shit ton of problems, but your GDP is growing and your healthcare is improving, and you've got this people coming back, and y'all are okay. There's no panic. We've got lots of issues going on, but politically, and y'all can fight and blah blah blah, but sit the fuck down. Like, let us handle our problems here, or in Hungary, or whatever, right? And so what I don't think it's an excuse, but how many things can a human being, how much can you handle in one day? Right? And now amplify that times 1,000, and then responsibility, level of responsibility times 10,000. And so I think impatience is the killer of progress, because it's about trends. It's about established patterns to improve something. And I think President Trump didn't have the time. It would have been hilarious to have this conversation had he actually won like he did in 2020, right? That would have been a whole different conversation, because now we'd have a track record of
8 consecutive years.
Yeah. But people often forget. People focus on the presidency so much, and God bless the president, right, and the federal staff. But what happened at the state level? What happened during COVID at blue states, Democratic states, or red states, the Republican states? What was the shift that happened? Number one, the biggest shift is that if we, the Republicans, or I would say the red voting states, were wrong, why did people start fleeing the blue states that they love and vote for so much in the last 4 or 5 years? Not just COVID, before COVID. Why are people fleeing California? Well, it's high prices, Sasha. That's why they're fleeing. No, they're fleeing policies that cause the high prices. Oh, your child can be transgender at the age of 3, says California. Who the fuck is going to... If you believe that, wow. Number 2, who wants the 3-year-old being taught that in pre-K, right? Like, so they pack up and flee because they see they can't change the system, or so they think. And then you got the exact polar opposite, which is red state. We vote for the governor. We sit with the governor. We sit with the mayor and say, this can't be. We refuse to be. Vote against this or you'll be gone by next election. And the governor goes, oh my God, is this what we're teaching our kids? The 3-year-olds should have trans changes? They're trans aware? Oh my God, DEI? What? And all of a sudden, the red states, the Republican voting and conservative voters, and even some libertarian red voters, say enough is enough. I am tired of this, and this happening. And all of a sudden, people start moving to the red states, away from the blue states, right? En masse. Leaving New York, coming to Florida. Leaving California, going to Arizona. Leaving Arizona, going to Texas. Migration of voting power as a result of misguided local policies. So I'm not, for those who don't know, there's many policies at federal level and state level. So then if you don't like Donald J. Trump, don't want to vote for him, go vote for your local mayor who may be working against you. What is the policies of your mayor? Have you sat with your village mayor? Because I have. Oh, I know her policies well. And guess what? When I realized that I am amongst the enemies that are going to ruin my child's existence because of their policies, I couldn't get enough people. So guess what I did with my money? Up and moved to where I'm standing a better chance. Sometimes it's good to back up, because I'm not going to sit there and fight where I have a 99% losing chance, right? Not that fight anyways. I fought it somewhere else where I've got a bigger concentration to spread outward. 1, 2, 3. And now that village that I lived in Florida is falling apart. You know, there's constant battles amongst neighbors because the politician is leading the village. I call it the village because that's what it's called.
I find it that like the people that leave like Chicago or New York City, go to Florida, Texas from California, or I hear that they're bringing their politics with them. Right? So if it's somebody that's a Democrat moving from California because they don't like the lifestyle there anymore, they're moving to Texas, but they're bringing their same politics with them.
No, I don't believe that.
No?
No.
So you think that
it's short-lived?
You think their view changes? Yeah.
Well, it depends on the strength of the people pushing back against that negative change. Right? Like, I realized that I'm outnumbered 99-1 at a town hall meeting at the place that I used to live. And they're all like, yes, and we need to introduce transgender classes. And we're talking about it. South Florida. Like, what are we talking about? Celebration day for transgender people in the village that I live in? Like, what are we... Like, it went from what the fuck to what the fuck, and I realized I'm not going to win this fight today. So back up, regroup, and use your money and move there where you're not having that issue for the moment. We'll revisit later when we're more powerful or more financially stable, whatever the back up, just go new strategy, shift and pivot, right? So if somebody from Chicago, let's say, is ultra blue and he believes in democratic state, the only question you ask is, then why did you leave? Oh, it was the weather. Okay, well then, how was the policies of your state? Oh, I love Joe Biden. Okay, why do you love Joe Biden? Because he did great. Well, how was your state performing? Oh, you mean Chirac? You know, people killing themselves in Chicago every day on the streets. And so you gotta, again, we're a massive nation. 330 million Americans exist. So you're not gonna change everything, and you don't have to worry about changing everything. Change yourself. Put pen to paper, as my buddy James always says. Do something about it. What are you doing about it? If you just like and heart and nod, thank you. That's an energy of support. That's just not enough. Do you care about what your kid's going to be taught tomorrow? What is being taught in our schools? Or your fiscal policy? Do you know what the fiscal policy of your city, village, town, state? Who's your mayor? Who's your governor? I have contacts of everyone who's anyone in my state. I've never met them all, but I want to know who the fuck they are, and I know who addresses what problem. I'm aware. I can do something about it. Vote with my money, right? So I don't believe that they bring their policies with them, because guess what? Their policies failed, and now they're coming to a place where they can't fail. And we've seen that, right? We've seen South Florida, right? Majority Democrat, blue, 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 blue. Whoops, red. Uh-oh. Little tiny red. Oh, my God. Whole lot of red. Oh, my God. We red down in Florida. We're red because there was a lot of people that said, this makes no fucking sense. Hey, neighbor, what do you think? Oh, that makes no fucking sense. Hey, Tommy, what do you think? And that energy and vibe of this makes no fucking sense. Look what they fucked up in New York. Let's not fuck up down here.
Right.
And so I don't believe that. That could have been true 20 years ago when there was not this widespread and instant exchange of information. I believe it's much more accessible today. That makes you go, what the fuck? And if it doesn't, that's cool. That's your opinion. But don't then infringe on what we consider normalcy, because that's your normalcy. We think it's degeneracy. Yeah. And that's how it starts.
What's the stance down there in Florida from the Latin community on Trump?
I'm sorry, what's the what?
The stance on Trump in Florida from the Latin community.
Latinos for Trump originated in Arizona and Florida, so
okay.
You've got Trump flags everywhere. You saw my my selfie with Forgiato Blow, right?
Yeah.
And, you know,
yeah, the guy with the tattoo, right?
Yeah, he's a founding member of Latinos for Trump, right?
Got it.
And as you saw, we spoke for about 15 minutes, and you know, we recognized the Serbs for Trump, and we often cross-tag each other, Latinos for Trump on X, and he goes, man, this is crazy to me. If you told me 10 years ago that I'd be voting for Republicans in Miami, we thought this is crazy, you know. Now, and he, you know, the Southern drawl that he talks about, right?
Yeah.
It's done. This is the last time you're gonna feel this and see this.
Wow.
And I hope he's right. You know, I hope that people are seeing that we don't want degeneracy, right? And if it exists, great. Let it exist in your brain, right? Don't bring it to a national level policy.
The reason I was asking what they think about him down there in Florida is because Trump is labeled as a racist, as a misogynist. What would you say, like, one of my Mexican friends, Hispanic friends, you know, we were hanging out the other day and we started talking about Trump, whatever, Biden, we were voting, blah, blah, blah. And he told me the exact same thing he told me 8 years ago, bro. He was like, but, you know, but his rallies are racist. I'm like, where are you getting this information? So what would you tell somebody that has that view?
I wouldn't. I can't talk to people that are like, this is racist. What do you see that I don't see?
Right.
Oh, he's against illegal immigration, but his wife is an immigrant. Oops, she's a legal immigrant.
Right.
As if though you know, it's the omission, right? There's a skip, you know. You've got front row of black Republicans, right? Look at how much they're represented here in Milwaukee at this moment, right? Talking to them, and they're like, what the fuck is everybody talking about? Us engaging the black American yesterday that says, you know, fuck Trump flag in front of yesterday. We engaged him. We're like, what he's a racist. Said, tell me one racist thing he's done to you or to your nation. What has he done that's racist? Oh, he said this. I said, when? Where? What? And at the end of the day, you're never going to change everyone's mind. It's not what this is about. This is about sphere of influence. This is evolution, right? Baby steps. And
moving the needle, like you said.
The problem is that baby steps are now no longer enough. Now we've got to take some greater steps, and especially in our community, right, Serbian American community, if you want to talk about racist, even though it's nationalistic based, is if you were to put President Biden and President Trump side by side and ask him who's got a more favorable policy, or you ask the other question, who's more racist, even though that's not applicable because, not race. But if you were to ask that question simplistically, what Serb will be like, oh no, President Biden's more or less racist against Serbs. I'm a Serb. Please show me one so I can slap him. And I mean that. Because how the fuck do you get bombed by the very man that's the president and you go back to vote for him? That escapes any sense of any, And by slaps, that was a joke. I'd ping you in your face. But what do you mean? What do you mean he likes us? Serbs? You're going to go vote for Democrat because you're a registered Democrat. He bombed Tetka Smiljana, 25 years ago. He advocated for it. He signed for it. He took money, lobby money for that, to say I hate Serbs. And you're voting for him? Help me understand that Stockholm Syndrome moment. I don't get it.
What if it wasn't Biden? Let's say if it was some other Democrat that that loved Serbia in the past.
That's great.
Based on their politics today, would they be the right person?
That's a great
for the
question.
Serbs?
And that question was asked a couple of times by a couple of different anti-Trump Serbs. What if it wasn't Biden? What if it was like somebody who really loved Serbia and was like, I'm doing everything in my power to help Serbia. I love Serbia, but is destroying America. Who would you vote for then is the question. Would you vote for the Serbian-loving, I love Serbia, but destroying America, or the guy who doesn't give a flying fuck about Serbia, but is a Republican and he's doing great for America? So I've got a really, really simple answer for you. Where does the $5 billion that pumps into Serbian economy come from?
USA.
USA. Not all of it.
Diaspora.
Yeah, diaspora. The USA. The business owners that are in America, are they America first or Serbia first?
Right.
America first, because they have to earn the income here, pay the taxes here, then take back the Tetka Smiljana and spend it over tomorrow. Right? Can't generate something that doesn't exist here to make it here to not have it there. Like, how are you going to have a president who loves Serbia but destroys America? You're like, yeah, I'm an American patriot.
Right.
How does that make any fucking sense? Right? And what chance of that, the hypothetical questions, we can have 1,000. What a dumb question that fucking is. Not by you, but I mean,
right.
hypothetically, you get asked, we see that on social media all the time. What if I had $10 billion right now? I wouldn't be on this podcast, Boże. I'd be in Fiji.
Damn, bro, it's like that.
It's like that.
Damn, man, come on, bro.
I would not be sitting in the.
I'd be flying out of.
No,
Fiji.
I'll be on FaceTime with you from my Fiji, $1 billion mansion. I'm kidding. You know what I mean? Like,
I gotcha, yeah.
What if? I don't fucking know what if. I'm not a psychic, bro. I'm a Serbian American Patriot, hustler guy.
Yeah.
I don't know what if, but that's so stupid by asking those stupid hypothetical questions. What we have is a much different reality than the hypothetical question.
Yeah, I think as a Serbian American Patriot, right? Or as Serbian, not a patriot, as Serbian Americans, we want this country to do well first. Like you said.
You better.
Right, exactly. So
that doesn't make you like a patriot. That just makes you normal.
Right.
But you want to shit where you live? I've been to places where they shit where they live. Oh my God. No, thank you.
Right.
Oh no, I didn't like any of them. I didn't like 1% of what I saw because they don't care about themselves.
So I guess we gotta think like America first, Serbia second.
Why is that even a matter of? I don't understand how that's even a matter of question. Of course, it's America first, right. Serbia. I don't
because I think a lot of people.
What's the alternative, right?
Well, I think a lot of people would say Serbia first.
That's America. Fucking selfish. Don't be fucking selfish.
I agree. As if you're living.
As if though we don't have Serbian leadership and that gets voted on over there and Serbian employees and wait a fucking minute. Serbia has Serbian leadership.
Right.
You picked them because you're Serbian and you voted. So go handle it.
Yeah.
We're handling this here, where we live. What do you mean, Serbia? What the fuck does that even mean, Serbia first?
Right.
Now, if you're the president of Serbia saying Serbia first or make Serbia great again, I get that because you live in Serbia and help me understand what I don't understand. Am I not putting Serbia first when I take my money to Serbia and I'm in Serbia employing people? I'm in Serbia, so then Serbia is first. Well, how does that make sense then that America isn't first where you live? I live here. I reside here.
Right.
Economically powerhouse. I chose to put my offices and open businesses in Serbia because I am a proud Serbian American. What do you mean Serbia first? We should vote for American president, put Serbia. What the fuck? What? No.
Right.
How about the Serbian voters in Serbia vote for president and staff and local and that put Serbia first?
Mm-hmm.
How about y'all take care of that problem? That's on you. You live there.
Right.
And, you know, I have an amazing friend of mine, made a lot of money in life, just a family man, huge family. Went back to Serbia, and he was like, oh, my God, this is amazing. I love everything about Serbia. I love the politics and integrated, blah, 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 blah. That's his perception. He's cool with whatever's happening in Serbia. I can't judge him. That's his life, and that's his thing. Not in politics, not in anything. I mean, he's retired, you know, he's young, but retired, successful. Pozdrav, znaš ko si legenda. You know, like, how am I going to judge that? He made that choice for his family and him. I see their Instagram all the time, they're traveling, doing things, you know. That's amazing. I love that for him.
Yeah.
He went back to the country that birthed him and lived in a I'm not going to identify him, in a different country, and had beautiful family, a loving wife and kids, and, you know, and not like a real Serbian success story, you know, on diaspora somewhere in the world. He loves that. He loves talking to politicians there, picking their brain, figuring out what they're thinking about, what they're doing, how they're surviving. It's great. And there's other people come back and go, I hate these people, blah, blah, blah. You know, you're literally the example of you coming from a country of shitty policies and then trying to ruin your new place. Or vice versa, coming from a place of great policy. And so the effect is real, but at the end of the day, for us here, United States of America, you don't do anything but put America first.
I agree.
Because guess what? If there's a bad America, there's probably going to be a shitty time in Serbia. So
As
yes, it is America first because, folks,
as we're noticing around the world right
the
now,
$5 billion, of which 92%, whatever the number percentually is. Sorry, Twitter mathematicians. I'm sure there's going to be
Fact
lots
checkers.
of comments. Yeah, the fact check. Thank you. Yes, I'm tired. I slept 3 hours.
Yeah.
4 billion on a GDP of 62 billion. Oh my God. Remember, GDP is a collective output. Take away the government output. You know, that's on paper. It's the real output in Serbia. 4 billion comes from the United States of America from you. When you go and visit your family in Srpska and Hrvatska and Ohrid and whatever. It's me when I go and eat food and rent an Airbnb in the village or whatever, whatever. Or send money to my aunt if she needs it, or whatever the situation is. Or when I send payroll to my staff, the taxes that 63% taxes they hit me with for every employee that I have in Serbia. You know? 63%.
Serbians do? Serbian government?
Yeah.
Wow.
63% PO fund and taxes for every staff member.
Wow.
I don't need 63% off. I want you to take that down to 20 so I can give my staff 43% increase.
Yeah.
I don't need it. I'm good. That's, you know? So while we've gone off the deep end, and I hope we haven't lost anybody here, this is a serious fucking problem. We are dealing with a situation that hasn't happened before for Serbian Americans and Serbs in Serbia. So my question is, what are we doing about it? And the culmination of this conversation is someone is doing something about it. What are the rest of y'all doing? What's the plan? What are you executing as part of the plan?
Yeah. What's everybody doing?
Yeah, good question.
Sorry, man. Shuffling my papers over here.
You got great papers. Hopefully we didn't. This feels like we went off on a dark tangent, but it's the reality of our situation, is it not?
I agree. I mean, I think everything we're saying is kind of truthful. It's not like we're just saying it how it is.
Yeah, but it feels like heavy.
It is. It's a serious conversation.
Yeah, because there's some serious shit happening right now in the world.
Yeah, everywhere. Like we're going to talk about it, but in Russia and Israel and Palestine, Ukraine, I guess bad things start from bad organizations, bad administrations, right? Like during the Trump administration, there was no new war started. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, that's factual.
Yeah, and then Biden comes in, and then two big wars pop off. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the wars there in Ukraine and Russia?
My thoughts are that that's their problem.
That's their problem. Yeah,
and
should involve us.
Yeah, I think there's a sentiment growing that. Not because I don't want this person or that person. The point is war. You know, war only serves a purpose of one, which is geopolitical control, right? Financial and all that stuff. And so it's like, you know, and it's the tag. Oh, Sasha, how come you don't feel bad about these children lost their lives as a result of this, and it's always the same thing. Like, how do you not have heart for someone who's hurt? You know, you're a psychopath. You have no empathy. But the problem does not lie in the hands of Canadians because of something that's happening in South Korea. Was that the responsibility of Canadians or the South Koreans to fix it? You know,
Yeah.
we saw that in our own problem situationship with Kosovo and Metohija, right?
Right.
That was a civil war that was literally gonna be conflicted and done month before we started getting bombed, or after, you know, timeline wise. Had another month gone on, it would have been over, right? But no, right? So because somebody else stepped in. Those are we're the good guys, you're the bad guys. Because what I've learned in my 45 years on this earth is there's never a bad guy versus a good guy in civil wars, national wars, international wars, world wars. Never is there a clear defining line between who the good guys and the bad guys are. Just interests.
Yeah.
Current interests, past interests, future interests. So of course your heart should hurt when you see a child who's been hurt. Of course, terrible.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel it, you know, I pray for you if you don't feel it. You should feel it. That's terrible. But do we police the whole world? At what point in time does the entire planet Earth belong on the set of one group of people who frankly have significant problems of their own? It's like, well, they're friends of the U.S. Okay, well, the other side is the friends of, you know, Brazil. Now what? Now who's right? Because you're friends of this and friends of that, right? And so I don't believe that wars and conflict will ever have a logical resolution at any point in time because it's not based in reality. It's based in interest, I think. So how do you solve an issue that's goes back hundreds, thousands, dozens of years with multitude of this and that is? And somebody posted a very famous Serbian social media user with a large following said, "Not my circus, not my monkeys." How, you know, at what point in time do we need to care about what happens in X country?
Right.
Yeah. Back to the spirit and the question about America first. Like, God bless. I don't want to see anyone hurt. I don't want to talk. That's not normal for you to be like, I love seeing X nation being hurt because they deserved it, right? The usual sociopathy. I don't want that. Do you want that? Because that's not normal in my world. But what I do want is, I have a problem called a seawall that's breaking every time it rains in Miami. Before people start dying, it's probably a couple years off. Can we fix that seawall? And I'm being literal right now. Let's talk about use u svoje kljuse, depending on what part of ex-Yugoslavia you're from. Use u svoje kljuse. Look and focus on what's in front of you. What's the problem you can solve today? Let's just get in where we fit in corner by corner. It's not saying ignore everybody. It's not what I'm saying. But if you're busy, for example, worrying about somebody else and not taking care of your backyard, your weeds will probably grow, right? And then you got to go run and cut them again, and the problem continues. And so at what point in time do you just start by taking any ownership and taking any action, 1, 2, 3, to change something? What are you doing about that? What are you physically doing about that? And so if you're not doing something physically about that, then you're irrelevant in the fight. You're irrelevant in that conversation and that influence. You're just noise. That's it. You're ineffective. And that stands for every conflict in every country in the world in the history of ever. And that is the unfortunate truth, where people refuse to believe they're not that important. And that the game of geopolitics is much bigger than all of us, right? Because we're not playing that game.
Yeah.
And if you're playing that game, then you're part of the system,
right? How important is this election?
On a scale.
Actually, before we do that, I'm sorry. Was the event a successful event yesterday? The Serbs For Trump event.
Yeah. So, and I think we should talk about that because that's part of the reason why all this happened is that this is Wisconsin always having been a sort of a decision-making swing state, critical state in history, right? As far as I've been alive, Wisconsin's always been that like true Midwestern passion, left or right, blue or red, Republican versus Democrat, but it's always been like that divide, right? But passionate.
Mm-hmm.
And so all these things aligning and us having an event here. And when I say us, I mean Serbs, American Serbs. I don't want to identify that this is that. All of the American Serbian Patriots that showed up at the event yesterday, it was resounding that we're all doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
So the event was a massive success because our friends were there. Our friends from Congress, from Senate, from local. They were there.
What friends?
Friends. They're real friends.
I know. I'm saying like friends, like names from Congress. What speakers? Does it matter? Or
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
We're not going to talk about it today, just because it's all over the news, and you can Google Serbs for Trump Milwaukee and see the 260 outlets or some crazy shit this morning. I woke up to the news this morning. Everybody's all the media is tagging me like, look, you're here. It's not about me. This is not.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad. Thank you. Yes, I was there, and yes, I did what I wanted to do. But it's not about me. The outcome is we have some amazing friends who stand by us, not in word, on paper and in principle, and they're signing things to help us understand that they care about Serbian Americans and Serbs back home.
Mm.
That's amazing. For the first time in a long time, at least in my history, I'm not saying all history, but in recent history, that makes me feel like somebody cares.
This is probably the first time. I know you said this was the first time in history that our flags were flown during the convention.
At the RNC.
At the RNC. Is this also the first time that Serbs have ever organized an event during
No, of course not.
No?
No.
Okay.
There's been many Serbian American Patriots
that organized events during the convention.
Oh, yeah. No, that's incredible. Yeah, don't it's never like that. Oh, gosh, there's great events across the country, Just, again, we lack the visibility. We lack the structure.
Right. Clearly, if I don't
call
know.
Somebody, call me. Let me just post about it if I can't get to it.
I'm 35 and I don't know anybody besides.
I know.
You know what I mean?
And it goes back to an hour ago, whatever the conversation was, right? We said we lack the basic skills of visibility. Okay, check mark 1. We got to work on that. So the answer is in my world and in the perception of the very people that came as guests of the event yesterday, everybody was like, wow. And then the subsequent conversations, me personally, with the Benny Johnsons, the Charlie Kirks, the invites to the podcast. Oh my God, Serbs for Trump are here? Serbs for Trump are here. Serbian Americans voting for Trump are here. Organization Serbs for Trump. All of us are Serbs for Trump, right, that are in this fight. So the recognition, we're here. You know what I mean? So it was a massive success. And again, you heard me say thank you to all the amazing speakers. I won't go through it on the podcast, but these are amazing men and women who firmly now stand by us. And we stand by them because we believe in their policies and we've seen what they can do.
Yeah.
And that's real. That's powerful.
Absolutely. Having friends that are in our corner or just support us.
We have friends finally.
Exactly.
But like real friends.
Right.
Not greasy, paid under the table, lobby money, whatever, like the things that we've seen, right? On other lobbies. These are people who are vested in our interest. Oh, they have interest. Yes, they have it's vested. It's called vested interest, stupid. If they had no vested interest, they wouldn't care about us. I have a vested interest in waking up being healthy. So I do X, Y, Z to be healthy. It's called a vested interest. And the fact that escapes people, oh, well, this person and that person and this guy and that girl is doing this because they have a vested interest. Yeah, because I have a vested interest in me. I have a vested interest in my health. It's called vested interest because somebody cares about something to be done.
Yeah.
Not reciprocal interest. Vested interest. Huge difference in the perception of Serbs in America. Lack of understanding the linguistics. Big problem for us. Of course they have a vested interest. We have a vested interest in them. That's mutual love and respect. That's how you build partnerships and bridges. And we're doing it. RNC 2024 right here in Milwaukee, and now 4 days of me not sleeping, are 100% proof that we're here. Officially.
Let me ask you this, though.
Please.
What happens to Serbs for Trump if Trump doesn't get elected, or if he does get elected and then after his 4 years? What happens to the organization? What's the plan?
Question. You're going to notice that our tags are Serbs for. Most people don't recognize the fact that for example, we used to be Serbs for Trump 2016. Then we were Serbs for Trump 2020. Today we're Serbs for Trump 2024. But the core, the vision of us is Serbs for. Even our X handle, Serbs For. Facebook handle, Serbs For.
Mm.
And so it's not about shifting and pivoting, but we are for those who are for us.
Mm.
But we are for unified, right? And I don't mean everybody unified. Ugh. You saw the situation. We're alluding to it because the viewers back home don't have a clue what happened really yesterday with the situation.
Mm-hmm.
We're Serbs For. In general, we are for X. And
Makes
right
sense.
now, in this moment, the thing that fits the model of the friendship and the respect is Serbs For Trump. Because that's what we feel closely.
That's right.
But we are still Serbs For.
Serbs For, and then fill in the blank.
Correct.
Right? Whoever supports us.
Not that we shift based on.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. Please don't. Again, ex-historians and politicians and all the experts that follow me and dispute facts and fact check me. Please don't. I'm not interested. Thank you.
All right. Back to the question 3 questions ago. How important is this election?
The
How
most important of our lifetime.
The most important.
Bar none.
Why so? Is it because of the nuclear war talk? Why so?
Because of everything. There's not a single thing that identifies it. It's the fact that it's everything all at once.
Mm.
I'd love for somebody to dispute that. Please fact check that. Because I'm not wrong. None of us are wrong in saying this is the single most important.
What happens if Trump doesn't win?
We fight again.
We fight again. Keep moving, right?
Yeah. The only thing we don't do is quit. Not until the balance is satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
People ask, well, what if he doesn't win? Well, we know he's going to win because we, the people on the ground, and talk to people that were hardcore Democratic voters that are like, done. Not 1, not 5, not like, oh my God, I saw this on Twitter and social media. No, people are mad.
Mm.
People in America are mad at the leadership, rightfully so. What we as Serbs and Serbian Americans saw back in '99 has now opened the eyes because he's done the same thing and they've done the same thing to America at a lesser degree, but it's that catastrophic.
Yeah.
Oh, and it sucks for us to say we told you so. We told you this would happen. Why didn't you listen to us? We didn't trust you. Now do you trust us? We told you so.
Mm.
Now that's built bridges based on mutual pain of Serbs in Serbia and Serbs in America.
Right.
And now American friends that are outside of the Serbian American community are feeling the same thing we felt in 95, 98, 99.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, even more recently.
Yeah. So this election being that important, is it too late for people to register to vote?
No, absolutely not.
Until when? When's the deadline?
Great question.
What's the process like? Because I've never voted before. So
it's state to state, right? And so there's regulations by state. You can Google, how do I vote in Illinois?
Mm-hmm.
How do I register to vote? You should rock the vote, right? The old MTV Rock the Vote, like that was cool. I always loved the fact that you should go rock the vote. And every state has its own limits. So yes, now the fact checkers can fact check that. I don't know what each state does when, but please go, do it now. No, it's not too late. We've got time. Go register to vote.
I just talked to a friend the other day and I asked him, are you voting? He's Serbian, out of Chicago. Are you voting in November? He said, no, what's the point in Chicago? Like, what's the point of us voting in Illinois when it's going to be blue?
What's the point in voting?
Right. When we know it's going to be a blue state.
I'm about to get triggered right now.
Do it. Let's do a little rant.
But does he remember when Florida was blue?
No, but I'll have him listen.
Hey, bud, why don't you take a look at when Florida went from blue to red?
Okay. So the change can happen. And I think it can because I feel like within the, the black communities and the Hispanic communities and from what I see online, right? I don't know. But from what I see online is that, there's a lot of people that are changing.
Well, how many deaths in Chicago before
Right.
Maybe 1,000 a day? Is it 10,000? Is it 100,000 a day? Is it 1 million Chicagoans dying a day? I don't know what the threshold is, but eventually Chicagoans will get up and rise up in some form or another and say enough. Because that's what usually happens. Like big change happens when people say enough. Move from one state to another. Vote differently. Get involved. And everybody has a different pain point threshold, but usually pain is the result of something that is a trigger of change. And so if you've always voted blue, and it's always gonna be blue, tell that to the states that used to be blue that are now red. You don't believe it can change? You're the fucking problem.
How long ago was Florida blue?
Again, fact checkers, please get at me. I don't know.
Approximately. Okay.
I have no idea.
Gotcha.
Damn, if I had all the numerical and date facts, I wouldn't live, because politics is not my thing. Business and entrepreneurship and family first, obviously, but those things are my things. So I apologize for not having Google on my fingertips.
To wrap everything up, man. I know, like I mentioned to you, growing up, especially like what happened back home. You know, we had to leave our home because of war, and then another war broke out, and then we got bombed. So for me, it was like, man, how can I, even though I live in America, how can I cheer for American sports teams when they play somebody else?
Oh, God, do you see that question? I'm not going to say which nationality lobby on social media constantly berates me with that question. Oh, look at the big Serbian Patriot. He's always talking about Serbian issues, and he's living in Miami. The amount of times that post has happened to the point where it's vomit-inducing. Like, we're nomads. Humans are nomads, Ooh, look at those patriots in Spain that used to live in Middle East, How far do you want to take it back? Where's the point of pride where I can't be a proud Serbian in America, and I can't be a proud Serbian American? That makes me a lesser Serb because I don't live in Serbia. You don't know what's going on. You're living over there. Is that what establishes ethnicity? Is that what defines statehood? Or is that what defines borders for the sake of diplomacy and regulations and laws?
Mm-hmm.
Am I a lesser Serb because I'm living in Chicago than I am in Kragujevec? Does that make me a lesser Serb?
Absolutely not.
It was rhetorical.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you agree, because that makes you normal. But an asshole that would be like, oh, look at the big Serb, and he's big Serbian patriot because I live in America, that makes me like, imagine how stupid that sounds. Go to a Mexican American who left their country of Mexico and be like, you live in Arizona. You're not a Mexican. What do you give a fuck about Mexico? Because you're not a Mexican. You're American. We had this conversation yesterday, remember, at the event.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy to me. And I can't fathom the low level of vibe and IQ that someone has to have to somehow say you win the fight by living there and you have to suffer with me to be. No, asshole. You don't have to suffer. You can change the system. Why aren't you doing that? What are you doing about it? Just your brain can't wrap itself around the fact that we're not defined by geographical borders.
Right. What I was getting at is,
isn't it crazy though? Does it not strike you as just the most low IQ of all low IQ questions? Well, move back to Serbia. The famous from both sides of the lobby that I argue with every day online.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you move back to Serbia? No, because I love Miami. I love palms. Somebody transplants some palms in a warm sea.
Yeah.
I'll move back to Serbia tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Freedom of choice. We're not trees. And we, as Serbs, have always been not only nomads, but diasporic by nature. Go back to 1800s, Southern Arizona, Bisbee, Arizona, all the itches buried in Bisbee, Arizona. Copper mines. Why don't you tell that guy in 1820, hey, asshole, back to Serbia. You're not a Serbian patriot because you're out here earning $1 a day, digging copper mines. Go back to Kolubara mines.
Mm-hmm.
How fucking disrespect? Fuck you. How disrespectful do you fucking dare?
Right.
What's the level of disrespect you're gonna take by lobbying that I'm not a Serbian, whatever the fuck that's even supposed to mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm just trying to point out the difference. So what I was trying to say is I never cheered, and now I do, right? I love the USA. But growing up, my view was a little bit different because of everything that happened back home, right? With
America didn't bomb Serbia. I'm going to say this one more time, and this is just stupid to me. 300, at that time, 21 million people didn't get up and go push a button for us to get bombed.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't the people.
Again, I'm going to say this very clearly. Ask, and I love my fellow Americans, but we've got some focal points to point Serbia out on a map, please. Again, I'm not disrespecting my fellow Americans. I'm asking, how many are regionally, culturally aware when 70% of Americans haven't traveled outside their state, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many are aware that where Serbia is or who bombed? How many times have you seen this when you tell somebody who bombed We Americans bombed you guys? I had no idea. Just educated people. They're not stupid. They have businesses and families, and they're just not culturally aware. They're not regional historically aware. They've got their own problems.
So it's not the people's
Did
fault.
America bomb? What does that mean, America bombed?
Yeah.
No, fuck you. Clinton bombed. Leftist lunatic liberals in power bombed. Their donors bombed Serbia. Oh no, you were American. You were paying taxes to the people that bombed us, so you bombed us. What kind of Munchausen by proxy bullshit is that? Oh, because I live here and pay taxes, and that contributes to the blah, 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 and so you bombed me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. So, Jeffrey Dahmer's knife maker, which he disemboweled people, killed people.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. Go vibe low somewhere else. This is not your fight. You're dumb. You know what I mean?
No.
Of course, I don't mean you, for the people back home that this doesn't translate literally well. This is colloquial American is. Go fuck yourself. What does that mean?
Yeah.
America bombed us. What, an eagle came and... What, America what? No, define that for me.
Mm-hmm.
Who handed Milosevic over?
Right.
Serbs? The Serbs killed Archduke Ferdinand? No, Gavrilo Princip did.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Can't group the whole
Now it's okay to stereotype. Oh, America bombed us. Yes, I'm aware there were Americans involved in fighting. What about Aviano Air Base, where all the planes flew from?
Mm.
Has anybody checked in with the Italians? Why don't we hate Maloney because she's Italian, and the planes flew from Aviano Air Base in Italy, and 23 other nations, 22 other outside of the U.S., 23 nations bombed us.
Mm-hmm.
Go be mad at Germany. Why you not? Why is your cousin working in Berlin? Why do you want to go have a summer job in Austria?
Yeah.
They bombed us. Half your fucking family lives in Vienna. What do you mean they bombed us? Again, we've got to elevate. The stereotypes are killing us.
Yeah.
Positive and negative. They're killing us. Stop being dumb. Fellow Serbs, stop being dumb. That shit doesn't work anymore. We've got to elevate the conversation.
That's what I realized, and I was a young kid when I came here, but once I realized that politics and the way of life here are two different things, the people here, politics, two different things.
And
once I realized
then you divide the energies and the focal points within the political structures. Only then does it get even more convoluted because it crosses party lines and goes into special interest, historic, past, current, and future. So when there's not a clear definition, what do you mean America bombed? Technically, Italians bombed us with Turkish planes and German ammunition and American gunpowder, if you want to be really fucking technical.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and by the way, Russian gas. Wait, what, Sash? What'd you say, Sasha?
Yeah.
Those Russians bombed us in '99 because it was Russian fuel, wasn't it?
All right.
Well, where was the T1 line for Aviano? Whose gas was that?
Mm.
Can I get an answer from the fact? Here comes the fact checkers next. Where did the gas in 1999 bombing of ex-Yugoslavia? Uh-oh.
Mm.
That's an inconvenient truth. Go ahead and fact check that shit. Because I did. I was like, as expected.
Right.
Because it's not about who bombed us. It's about why they bombed us.
Right.
Once we identify why they really bombed us, then we work on changing that never happens again.
Yeah.
That's change. There's that comment yesterday from a very famous Serbian influencer. I posted about, the RNC, and he reposted it as a thing, and the end comment on social media was, well, we should vote for them only if they're going to give us Kosovo back. And my comment back was, well, Kosovo has never been anywhere. It's not gone. They're not going to give us back Kosovo. That's not how this works. You have to go back and address the violation of UN Resolution 1244 because Kosovo and Metohija are Serbia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we can fight in the comments, but the answer is UN Security Resolution 1244 says that Kosovo and Metohija are Serbia. And we can fight and be sentimental, and you guys are this, and you guys are that, and go back to facts. Russia's gas bombed us in 1999. Oops. Did they bomb us? Did Italians bomb us? Germans? Austrians? Turks? Who bombed us? So we're going to keep talking about it and look at ruined, destroyed buildings around Serbia and live in pain? Or rebuild, prosper, and keep moving with better ecology, better economy, better leadership? Pick. Keep swirling the same goddamn ninth circle of Dante's hell, or exit the path and say, how do I rebuild? How do I do better? What am I doing about it?
Mm-hmm.
And then time will tell who was.
Great message, man.
Right?
I think that's a great way to wrap it up.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you for letting me go on my famous diatribes, but this is painfully emotional for me because of the sheer level of humans that I deal with, not just Serbs or Americans. In general, as you know, I have a fairly decent sized following on social media, and my views are sometimes, for some odd reason, wow, shocking or maddening or whatever. But at the end of the day, these diatribes and this discussion allows me to get all that out of my system, especially when I'm tired and beat up after days of work with no break and no enjoyment of this process, because it's not enjoyable. This is painful and tough.
Yeah.
But this is what we're doing right now globally.
It's stressful. I'm thankful that we have people like you that are fighting for us to have a position in this.
And time will
to have
tell
a voice.
if I was on the right side of history.
Right.
Again,
And
time will tell. Right.
And I'm not like, oh, here's a Republican Serbia.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't care. Like, if you were a Democrat and you were still fighting for us for us to have a voice, I would still be like, I'm thankful that we have people like you.
I appreciate that. And I, more than anything, I told you, like that every day is a learning experience for me based on my current life. And so when those people came up and you saw the line of people behind me lining up and, in front of me and behind them, and it was this vibe, like, it doesn't, and it sounds stupid, it doesn't matter if I'm right in all my views. I feel like I'm doing things that will help us, humanity, Serbian Americans, Serbia, equally. And time will tell if I was right. But I'm doing something about it. I'm not just talking about it. I am influencing, physically touching people, hugging, discussing, yelling, cursing, having podcasts, eating breakfast, lunches, dinners. Not because it's great time to spend. It's because no one else wants to do it or has done it. And those that have are in the fight. Everybody else is just looking from the outside. So you can't judge that because you have no skin in the game. But if you're here, you drive 2 hours to come see me, crack of dawn this morning, after my 3 hours of sleep, my eyes are on fire. I don't even know what time it is today. We're at 1:30 p.m. and I slept 3 hours and 24.
You got a long day ahead of you, man.
And I have another 20 hours to go. And so help explain how crazy that is to somebody who goes, oh, that guy's just talking about this or this. So instead of just talking about it, do something about it. And I would really love that from everybody who's following this podcast.
Great message. If you can let people know how to follow you.
Yep. So on social media, I've had the unfortunate pleasure of getting beat up by the old Twitter and losing my 212 or 14,000 followers back when I was at the God of SEO 1, or without the one, just the God of SEO. Today, I have 3,500 followers, and I started from scratch last year. So now I'm the God of SEO 2. On Instagram, I've always been and have maintained for the last 14 years the God of SEO. It's TheGodof SEO. And of course, you can just Google my name, Aleksandar Sasha Jovicic, and just have fun reading or talking bad about me or giving me a 1-star Yelp review or whatever it is that you're doing. I appreciate you. And more importantly, the amount of effort that you've put in to come out twice, you personally, I really appreciate it. And the guys from Michigan that drove yesterday, whatever the crazy amount of miles is straight through, I apologize I didn't get your names, but you guys know who I'm talking about. That kind of love and care just to find out who I am and what we're about. Man, that's vibes, and that's how we're doing 2024. And that's what's going to save us for the future. I don't give a shit if you believe it or not. That's what will get us better. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but this is the change that we've been talking about for so long. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Absolutely, man.
You guys better like, share, and subscribe after this marathon recording. I appreciate it.
I think it was a good one. Thank you, Sasha. Everybody gives Aleksandar Sasha a follow on his social media pages. I've been wanting to have this man on my podcast for a while now. We finally made it happen, and I didn't have him on because he's involved with Serbs For Trump. I reached out to him way before this and wanted to talk to him about his businesses and everything that he's involved in, Miami and everything. So anybody that has any opposing views, please reach out to me. I would love to have you on and talk to you about your views as well. And again, I'm just going to ask you guys, any audience that came onto this podcast to listen to Sasha that came from his followers, please give me a follow. The name is Bodu, B-O-D-U podcast. It's one word, and I'm on X, Twitter, same thing, YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram.
And if you don't follow him, I'll send Biden to your house. So do it now. Do it good. Do it real good.
My man, thank you.
Živio.
We'll do this again sometime.
Thank you all.
Peace out, everybody.